Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this Tampa City Council meeting to order. At this time, I yield to Council Member Miranda for today's invocation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My pleasure this morning to bring a friend of ours that's been retired from our great Tampa Fire Department. Was training chief for many years. Chief Ronnie Shipp will do the invocation this morning. Him and his wife Lisa, and Ronnie is the son of a division chief before him, Christopher Shipp, and he have a son named Ricky Shipp also, and two great granddaughters. And he is the current pastor of St. John's Missionary Baptist in Palmetto, Florida for 12 years. And besides being who he is, he's just a wonderful, straight human being who tells it just like it is. And it's been an honor to work with him in the past, and he does a fantastic job in helping people in need. Thank you very much for being here.
All right. Thank you.
All right, please stand.
Please stand for and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right. To the mayor, to these fine chiefs, chief of staff, to this council, to all the fine citizens of Tampa, let us pray. Lord, we thank you now as we come, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. We come before you this day. We submit this day to you, and we ask you to move in this meeting. Allow things to go as you would have them to go. We give you the praise and the thanks for that. During this season of Advent, we give you all the glory for what you have done. We pray now that you would bless this city continually, that you would move in such a special way that we would know that it is you that is moving. We thank you for it all right now. We give you the praise, give you the thanks for it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. At this time, roll call.
Carlson.
Here.
Haupert. I think you're muted.
Here.
There you go. Clendenin.
Here.
Henderson.
Present.
Vieira. Miranda. And Maniscalco.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
All right, we have a memo from Councilmember Haupert. She will be appearing virtually, as you can see on the screen. May I have a motion to adopt the minutes from the December 7th day meeting and the evening session of December 14th? We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All right. I'm going to do some housekeeping here on today's agenda. Yes?
If we can, first, can we just have a motion to accept the remote participation of Councilwoman?
Yes. May I have a
Haupert?
motion to accept the remote participation of Councilmember Haupert? We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. 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 Any opposed? All right, we have a memo requesting item number 2 to be continued to the February 2024 meeting. Is it February 1st?
The second meeting, if you can, Mr. Chairman.
Huh?
I'm not sure whether they're going to be meeting in January and February, but
Okay.
but not, if they meet in February, that would happen after your first meeting of the month, so if you could make it the
Okay,
second
so
meeting in February.
it'll just be a general continue to February, and then we can.
No, you could choose a second date, if you don't mind.
That's fine. So may I have a motion to continue item number 2 to February 15th? Motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we have a request from Mr. Vic Bide that item number 5 be heard with item number 65. So moved. We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. All right, item number 42.
If I can, Mr. Chairman,
Yes?
just for the purposes of the public, item 5 will be discussed with item 62. 65, I'm sorry, under staff reports.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, we have we need a motion to remove item number 42 because it is a duplicate item. Motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All right, item number 56, resolution will not get moved until the second public hearing. Let me just look at this. Okay, so 56, we have the first public hearing. The resolution doesn't get moved until January 11th. That's just an FYI. All right, we have staff reports. Per Chief Bennett, no administration update. Is that correct, sir? Yes, sir. All right. Merry Christmas. Item number 60 and 61 will be heard together. Item number 62 and 63 will be heard together. Item number 64 is to be continued to January 25th.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I went through and read the motions and everything, and it looks to me like that pertains to Ybor, but it doesn't say Ybor anywhere I could say. Is that correct?
Which is this, for 64?
64.
Let's see here.
It just doesn't say
Yes.
it.
So if it is Ybor, I would like to include item number 4. I don't see how we could approve a solution when we don't know what happened. And so I'd rather get an update. We have not been presented any data to back up number 4 as a policy, and we also don't know exactly what happened. So I would like to get an update at the same time. So I would just,
Wait, we'll hold that thought. Yes, Chief Bennett?
Just from the staff's perspective, good morning, John Bennett, Chief of Staff. We were under the impression after meeting with the VM Ybor community, that's what this was about, relating to the sexual predators and some of the other disorder in the VM Ybor. Doesn't mean that it wouldn't impact Ybor, but just that's where staff is coming from on this one. But we're happy to clarify either one in an updated motion.
Yes, sir, Mr. Shelby.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chief, because that was what I was about to suggest. That motion really, in terms of notifying the public, is vague. So when you do move to continue it, if that's council's pleasure, or even if you don't, at some point in time, that motion should be amended to be able to truly reflect what the purpose of that subject is.
Councilman Vieira, Councilman Clendenin.
Thank you, and I made that motion, and that was for VM Ybor. I also made another separate motion for VM Ybor, I think it was last week, if I recall. So if I may, I'll move to continue this, and I know other folks want to
Item
speak.
64?
Yes, sir, to January 25th of 2024, but with, amend it to specifically, for the public, deal with VM Ybor.
Is that all right? Councilman Carlson, does that clarify?
Yeah, so I didn't know for sure whether it pertained to all of Ybor or just VM
Okay.
Ybor, so that doesn't affect item 4.
We have a
I'll make a
motion.
separate motion on item 4.
We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda. Mr. Shelby, did you want to say anything else?
No, just stating VM Ybor, do you think that's sufficient to be able to explain to the public or what's going to be on the agenda? It's with regard to,
Sure, I mean, I think that's specific.
It's
that's
pretty
fine.
descriptive.
Okay, that's fine. It's
Yeah.
descriptive enough, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just a location, please.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. This is to January 25th, 2024, under staff reports. I also have a request here to continue item number 66 to January 25th, under staff reports.
66.
Yes. Chief Bennett, anything you wanted to say?
To combine those would be wonderful.
Combined.
Okay, so we'll have them under staff reports, one after another. We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda. Who was the second?
Lewis.
Second from Vieira. All in favor? Aye. And we have a memo from Councilmember Clendenin requesting item number 68 to be moved to a workshop date in 2024. Yes, sir.
I'd like to speak to that a little bit. You know, it's kind of crazy. This is the third time I've moved this, and I've moved it because these agendas for these days are getting loaded up so badly. I still think that we need to talk about adding an additional meeting or coming up another way to curtail loading up these agendas because they're just too much in one day for folks to deal with. And this conversation, I think, is very important to the growth and the citizens of Tampa to try to cram it in and dismiss it after we're all exhausted from going through this process all day long. I put a date to be determined because I think there's also probably a couple of other, which I haven't fully thought about, but I'm sure the other council members would, some other items that maybe we need to have those types of discussions, that we could create a workshop, talk about land development, talk about the different things that are coming before us, and maybe we could just have a special meeting for that alone. So I'd continue for a date to be determined.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin. Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Hurtak.
Thank you, and I just want to let the public know that my husband is sick and I'm not feeling well, so I want to make sure that I'm not passing it on to anyone. That's why I'm virtual today. But I agree with Councilmember Clendenin, and I do believe that we can do that. That maybe if we talk to the folks in land development, make sure to maybe fit everything together. So that would be my amendment to that, is just talk to the folks, make sure that we can put things all together on a day that works for them too, because they're focused on some things coming up.
Yeah, absolutely, Councilman Hurtak. In fact, it would be my intention when we put a date on this and put it on our calendar. I'm actually going to ask folks in our planning groups to present issues on how PDs have impacted neighborhoods and show visual maps of how this is transformed when we get away from Euclidean zoning and what it's done to certain neighborhoods and what we can do to improve the process. So yeah, I 100% agree with you.
All right, so we have a motion from Councilman Clendenin. Councilwoman Hurtak, are you the second? Yes,
Sure,
ma'am.
yes.
Can I make a suggestion? You do have PD items on February 22nd workshop, so I don't know if you want to put it on that day or just leave it to be determined.
Let's leave it to be determined.
All right.
Let's leave it to be determined until we, such a date that we can see that we have enough time. I haven't really looked at that workshop, and also I wanted to, like I say, throw it out there to think that this may be something that we could devote one workshop that just has a couple of items on it that we can fully vet these things.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Hurtak. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Mr. Chair.
Yes?
Item number 67, we've continued it several times, but there's nothing substantive in the report, so I would like to continue it to,
Wait, I'm gonna go down staff reports one by one now, and then,
but I think you
Okay.
were just doing 68, right?
all right, go ahead. What is
So
it?
I just realized we skipped this one. So 67, I'd just like to make a motion to continue it to March 28th.
We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson to continue item 67, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
And then 69, I would just like to vote to receive and file. The intent of this was to try to see if we could help the aquarium in some way.
All right.
And in talking to the aquarium and CFO, there's nothing we can do other than just report the information.
We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilmember Clendenin. Any discussion? To receive and file 69. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, I'm going to go down the list of staff reports to see who we need here, and then I'm going to go to Councilmember Henderson that wishes to be recognized. So, item number 58. Do we need somebody here for 58? No, so nobody for 58. All right. All right, item number 59, do we need somebody here for 59 in person? No. Item number 60, would we like somebody here for 60? No.
That goes with 61 too.
Yes, 61, do we need somebody here for 61? Yeah. All right, and then 62 and 63 was to be heard together. All right, do we need people for 62 and 63? I hear no. All right, item number 60. Yes.
I just want to say for 62 and 63, that, we're going to talk about it though, right? Or are
Yeah,
just
we
gonna-
just won't have staff present. We can talk about it.
Okay,
All
that's
right.
fine.
Item number 65, we will have Mr. B-Day present because we've already discussed that. Item number 70, Councilman Clendenin, there are, you added some supporting documents you would like to have discussion?
Yeah, unless anybody else wants discussion, if they're satisfied with what was in the documents that I provided, I don't have anything
I'm
else to say.
satisfied.
Thank you for doing all that work.
Yeah, exactly. All right,
Yeah.
so no for 70. Item number 71, we do have a memo from this or a report. Is that sufficient? Sufficient for me. All right, because I went through that. No staff present for 71. The report was very thorough.
Should we
Item
move to
number-
receive and file?
No, we'll get to it then. Item number 72, yes. Yeah, it's $115 million, so yes. All right, Councilmember Henderson, I will go to you, then I'll take a motion to approve the agenda and the addendum. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. Good morning, everyone. Respectfully, I would request by motion to remove item number 3 from the agenda, file number HS 23984, the renaming of East Ybor Park. There are some legislative issues, and that is with council, with this process, that has come to light and that need to be addressed. I will make a motion under new business for council to discuss the process in an upcoming workshop. This is not about people or families. This is about a process. And the processes, began on April 27th, the week before I was sworn into office. I respectfully ask for a second on this motion because.
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Carlson. Also, I may leave today. I don't know if I can get through this meeting. My mother is on a ventilator at Tampa General, so if I get up and leave, it's not because of any particular issue before me. So if you're a prayer warrior, you can go ahead on and pray for Gladys Henderson, and I appreciate that.
We have a motion from Councilmember Henderson, second from Councilmember Carlson. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Mr. Chair,
Go, it's okay.
Can I tell you, Councilmember Henderson, I came when my dad was in the hospital, and I wish I hadn't. So nothing is worth not spending time with your family.
I know a lot of people don't know this, but the first meeting, my mother was in the hospital, my very first meeting, and I talked to Chief Bennett and Chair, because I didn't want to miss the meeting. I didn't want the news to report why I wasn't here, because I understand my obligation, but I appreciate you all understanding, and I'm gonna go ahead and go.
Yes, ma'am. May I have a motion to approve the agenda
Can
and addendum?
I make another motion?
Yes, sir.
I move that we continue item number 4 to January 25th,
Let's see what,
because we have not been given any, what I asked for last time, and not in a motion, but I asked for any kind of policy backup to justify whether a policy like this works, and we didn't get it. Also, we have not been given full information on what happened in Ybor, and I think it's premature to make a
Second.
decision before we know all the facts.
We
I
have a-
expect that typically information that is not favorable comes out from organizations between Christmas and New Year, and so I expect that we'll have more information by the 25th of January.
we have a motion from Councilmember
Mr. Chair,
Carlson,
if I
second
may-
from
if I
Councilmember
may.
Hurtak. Yes, ma'am.
I just, Andrea Zellman, City Attorney, I just want to be clear. This isn't, you all made a motion at your, I believe, December 7th meeting to put this on the agenda for first reading today. There will be a second reading and adoption hearing in January. Those are the hearings at which we're going to talk about, again, the statute that we would be adopting, the reasons for it. There will be opportunity for the public to speak.
And we are
But I
legally-
wanna make it
we are
clear-
legally able-
I want to make it clear.
Are you
this
giving
is
legal
a-
advice or political advice?
Mr. Carlson, please, I'm trying to speak. This is a city-wide juvenile curfew ordinance. Yes, it was an event, a horrible event in Ybor that triggered a relook at the juvenile.
Are we allowed by
curfew
law to
ordinance.
continue this?
Please let me speak.
Point of order, point of
Please
order.
let me
Let's respect
speak.
the city attorney,
This is
The
please.
attorney needs to represent the city council
Point
and the
of
mayor,
order.
not just one of them.
Point of
Carlson,
order.
Mr. Carlson, is a point of order.
I'm not gonna
If-
stand there and be treated
I'd
like
like to
this.
hear what
Please
she
let me
has to
speak.
say.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
what is your direction with regard to council members? Do you ask them to be
I advise you to look
recognized?
at the charter and realize who your client is.
I want to hear what she has to say. She was speaking.
The
My
question
client is the city of
I'm
Tampa.
sorry.
This is a
It is also the city
citywide-
council and the
Stop,
mayor.
Excuse me.
Point
Mr.
of
Chairman.
order,
There's a
continue.
point of order.
I guess, do I have the floor,
Everything-
Mr. Shelby?
Everything stops until we deal with the point of order.
Okay, if I may, my point of order is that while the city attorney is speaking, that she be allowed to speak and just not be interrupted. I appreciate Councilman Carlson's passion on this issue, but I would say, Mr. Chair, that folks have got to be allowed to speak without being, having insults and whatnot hurled at them. That's all. That's all I would request.
Please
If-
finish, ma'am.
Thank you.
If I can,
Sir.
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, just for the purpose of the city council, what is the procedure in order to have the floor by city council?
They need to be recognized by the chair. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. She was speaking. Yes,
I
ma'am.
just want to make it clear, because Councilman Carlson is tying this to Ybor. Yes, it was the event in Ybor that caused us to relook at the concept of having a juvenile curfew, but the ordinance that we're bringing forward is an adoption of a state statute. It would apply citywide. We're going to present data. One of the data points that I wasn't aware of until yesterday, and probably most of you aren't either, is how many juvenile-related calls come in from districts all over the city. I didn't know this, but apparently there are young people that regularly go to the top of the parking garage in Hyde Park Village and throw things at people's cars, and the police get regular calls about that. You know, as we've said before, this ordinance isn't going to solve all of these problems. It gives the police an additional tool. Again, we can talk about all this when we talk about the ordinance, but I'm just trying to make it clear, this isn't related to Ybor only. This is a city-wide ordinance, and the intent was to do what we do every time we present an ordinance. You have 2 hearings, present the data when we have first reading of the ordinance, and have a full-blown hearing when we have the adoption hearing on second reading. So, again, I just want to make that clear. Thank
That's
you.
fine. Councilmember Hurtak.
Thank you. And I actually think that's the problem, is that there was no supporting documentation and on-base for this, which is why I'm going to support Councilman Carlson's and second his motion, because that is exactly, I noticed there are several items in on-base that did not have any supporting documentation, even a cover letter. But if there is data, I'm not going to vote on something for data I'm being given today. I think we need time to look at it. That's kind of the whole point. I think that's what Councilmember Carlson is saying. So I would appreciate continuing it so I get a chance to look at that data that Attorney Zellman mentioned she didn't even get till yesterday.
Councilmember Carlson.
Mr. Chair, with all due respect, and I know those of you who are watching for the first time or here for the first time haven't seen this, but the city attorney by charter is supposed to represent the city council and the mayor, not one or the other. The city attorney cannot advocate for or against a policy. They can merely give legal advice. And I think we should make a motion or pass an ordinance to restrict the comments of the city attorney. The city attorney is giving political advice and advocating for policy when it's not the domain by charter of the city attorney. And the city attorney has to be unbiased in giving the city council advice, not biased towards something the administration wants. The administration clearly wants this because they don't want the public to see what happened in Ybor City. And we need the truth to come out so that we can make policy decisions. And if they're unwilling to give the to give the decision, we should not be willing to jump in to support their knee-jerk policy decisions that are not going to solve the problem.
Councilman Clendenin.
If I may.
With all due respect, I think when you go back, Mr. Carlson, I think when you go back and you look at the replay on the attorney's comments, I think you'll find that generally they were about policy and about where we stand in this motion. I think maybe your own bias entered into this a little bit on this particular discussion. So
I'm supposed to give policy advice.
Yeah, well, I think when you go back, I think maybe you read into something that wasn't there. If this was the second reading and for adoption of this ordinance, I think the point would be well taken. But because this is the first, we still have another bite at the apple. I think, and again, I would actually do this as well because this is, when we talk about the incident that was the catalyst for this was Ybor, which is in Councilwoman Henderson, and because of her family situation, she obviously is not here today. So I think if this was the second reading, if this was adoption, I think the point would be well taken. But I think by this particular issue today, I don't know if there's anything else that we need to vote on it for the first time. Again, we're going to have another bite at the apple. So I'm going to support the motion, and I would urge my other council members to do as well.
And if I may.
Support which motion?
There's a motion.
No, I'm sorry. I'm going to support the original motion. I'm going to vote against the continuance.
And if I may, thank you, Councilman Clendenin, for making one of the 2 points that I was going to make. This is just a first reading. You have an adoption hearing. At that point in time, if council doesn't want to vote to approve the curfew, that is certainly within your purview as the legislators. But I want to make it clear, Councilman Carlson is trying to portray this as something that the administration is advancing. Council made a motion for us to put this on first reading today. That was your motion. Okay? Yes, we presented it. We present things to you all the time. You are ultimately the legislators that decide whether you want that. This isn't Mayor Castor's juvenile curfew ordinance or TPD's juvenile curfew ordinance or mine either. It's a state statute. It was discussed as after the incident in Ybor when we were looking at different things that could be done immediately and things that could be done long-term. It was a concept, and as I said, the more we looked into it, the more we realized it really is a citywide issue. But again, you're the legislators. If you don't want to adopt it, that's fine. And yes, I do represent both council and the administration, and I'm happy to advise you on legislation, and that's all I'm doing here. So I resent the implication that would suggest otherwise.
Councilmember Hurtak, Councilmember Vieira, then Councilmember Carlson, and then. Yes, Councilmember Hurtak.
Thank you. And thank you, Councilmember Clendenin, for reminding me that, Councilmember Henderson isn't here. I really do believe we need all 7 of us to go forward And I disagree that we get another bite at the apple. That's not the way we should be legislating. We need to have a first reading with all information. I don't think that having a second bite at the apple is really appropriate. I believe a first reading should answer, we should have all our questions answered beforehand. And I have talked to officers who have these same questions that I have about this. What's going to happen to the kids? Like, I mean, we have a ton of questions that are simply not being answered. And I don't believe in between first and second reading. I'm not comfortable saying, oh, we'll get to that. Because what happens if we don't get to that at second reading? Then we have to start from first reading all over again. Why not just have a first reading that has all of our questions answered and a full council? Thank you.
Councilmember Vieira.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and I suggest, I mean, we're at 9:30,
Yep.
and we haven't even had public comment, that we're not even voting on the ordinance, which is going to be first reading. We're voting on a motion to continue. I suggest that within 2 minutes, we do that. And that's it, because we have to move this meeting forward. I have things that I was planning on saying. I'm going to silence myself because I want to vote and go forward and hear from the public.
All right, Councilmember Carlson is going to bring this in for a land.
Yeah, I just want to say for the record, and Ms. Zellman has been much easier to work with than her predecessors, but the city attorney cannot give policy advice. The city attorney cannot give political advice. The city attorney can merely give legal advice, and the advice should have been, if the city attorney disagreed about the motion and thought the motion was illegal, then she should have given legal advice. Instead, she started giving policy analysis, which is not the charter role of the city attorney. It's inappropriate, and we need to get back control of city council. We cannot allow city attorneys to misuse the position and disrespect city council.
We have a motion to continue from Councilmember Carlson. Did you have a date, sir?
Yeah, January 25th.
And we have a second from Councilmember Hurtak. All in favor to continue to January 25th? Would be item number 4. Aye?
Aye.
This is a motion to continue. Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
It's a tie vote. The motion is,
No.
oh, let's do a roll call vote. Motion from Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilmember Hurtak. Roll call vote.
Henderson absent. Vieira,
Nay.
Miranda,
No?
Carlson,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin,
No?
and Maniscalco.
Yes.
It is a tie vote.
Motion
Motion
fails.
failed.
The motion fails, so we will be hearing item number 4, and then we take a vote from there. All right, the last item on the agenda, just for clarification, we did not need staff present, is that correct, sir?
Item number 74. Is that what you were saying, sir?
72, I have. I'm
72.
sorry, no, I'm sorry, 73.
73. There is no 74.
Yes.
70, I don't believe there's any staff needed for 73, is there, council members? There is staff needed? You want staff?
Okay, so we will have staff present for 72, 73. May I have a motion to approve the agenda and the addendum? We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Item number 1, that's me, so I'm going to pass the gavel to Councilman Clendenin. Yes, sir.
Chair Pro Tem recognizes Chair Maniscalco.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure, sadly, because we don't want to see you go, to present this Tampa City Council commendation to Russell Haupert, who has been helping governments innovate and improve their operations through the application of cutting-edge technology for more than 25 years. Working in both the public and private sectors, he has created, implemented, and supported advanced applications and technology for local government, serving hundreds of thousands of citizens and customers across the United States. For the past 12 years, he has concentrated on implementing an aggressive roadmap for digital business improvement as the Chief Technology Officer and Director of Technology and Innovation for the City of Tampa, with a priority on getting the right tools and technology for expanded service, improved reliability, and open data sharing for the departments he serves. The city has implemented and upgraded more systems in the past 5 years than the 15 years before. So it is our profound honor and privilege to present Russell Haupert with this commendation on the 21st day of December, 2023. Congratulations, sir. And if you'd like to say something.
First off, I wanted to say thanks to the mayor and the chief of staff who have understood that building a world-class city requires world-class technology. I'd like to thank the council for always asking the hard questions. Knowing that I had to come here and answer hard questions made me prepare a better product, and I really appreciate that. I'd like to thank my team, some of them who are here today and a lot who are back at the office. Anything that I have accomplished here in the 12 years with you folks happened through these folks. We run a commercial quality business. We have done more projects on time than any other government. We have a world-class operation here, and these are the folks who help that get done every day, and I really appreciate that. And then lastly, I want to say I am so happy that my wife is here somewhere. There she is. My wife, Mary, to have a partner to run through life with and to go through the difficult things that you do on a daily basis here at the city is a lot easier when you have someone like her to love and cherish, and I just want to thank her for helping me along these last few years. Thanks to everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and just so you know, as a council, from now on with the accommodations, if we've kind of tried to abbreviate these meetings, and we've all agreed that we have a councilman representing us at the dais, but unless somebody, and we open it up for discussion, but unless somebody else has something very specific to say, that we're trying to shorten the meeting, so instead of all of us pontificating like politicians do, so it's not, in no disrespect, and for everybody that's coming before us now in the future for accommodations, just to know that that's what we're doing. But I will open up the floor for people
If
who
I
have something
may.
special to say. Councilman Vera.
Yeah, and just thank you for your public service, and your comment about your wife was very touching, and just thank you for all your public service. I mean that. Thank you.
Councilman Miranda.
No, just remember AI.
Yes, of course I will.
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for always being available and working with us and keeping our system safe. To my knowledge, we didn't get hacked. So that was a great thing. Thank you.
It's all up to you now.
Thank you, sir, for your public service.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much. All right, we now go to public comment. We have 4 registered speakers. We're going to go with the registered speakers first, and then we'll go to the folks in the audience. First speaker is Angel D'Angelo. If you're on, sir, please unmute yourself, say your name, and go ahead.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Angel D'Angelo with Restorative Justice Coalition, zip code 33604. I couldn't be there in person, sad to miss all the tussling, but I just want to talk about this citywide ordinance that you have for the curfew. I'm in opposition to it. I'm not surprised, but appalled that you are going to vote on it, even though you don't have all the data, but that's on brand for you all. It's just going to create more over-policing. We know that. That's why they want it so badly. We have funded the police department over and over and over, and y'all have said yourselves that violent crime continues to increase. It's almost as though that's not the solution. Like, I don't know what it's going to take for y'all to realize we need to do something different. The National Youth Rights Association tells us that curfews cause discriminatory policing in Black and brown and low-income neighborhoods across the country, and it doesn't curb crime. In some cases, it actually increases crime, but none of that matters in Tampa. Solutions don't matter here, and that's what's so frustrating about living and loving this city. It's not about solutions, it's about optics and whatever the mayor and the police chief want, even though it does not work. Like, it's just asinine to me that we continue to go over this over and over again. Solutions we could adopt: violence interruption programs. They work in other cities like Chicago and Baltimore. Look it up. I can send you more data, not like to read it. Boys and girls clubs, teen night clubs, things for teens to do other than just the strong arm of the law. It's not working. It's not solving our issues. We're funneling children to the juvenile justice system, which has a lot of for-profit partners, a lot of money to be made. Do we care about the city? Do we want the city to grow and be strong and diverse? I do, but we're doing everything opposite of that. So please vote against this curfew ordinance. I know you're not going to, you're going to vote for it because this is the administration's council. Like, it's so frustrating. I feel you, Councilman Carlson. I never thought I'd say that, but I feel you. Like, this is just so frustrating, y'all. And also, there's going to be talk about a resolution in support for our Arab neighbors in this town. We need to also provide support and fight against Islamophobia, because what we're doing here is just disgusting. Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you very much. No clapping. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Michael Randolph. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My
Good
name
morning.
is Michael Randolph with the West Tampa CDC. I want to start off by extending my sadness to Councilwoman Henderson and what she's gone through with her mind. May God be with her and send angels with her during this time. My presentation today talks about a new initiative related to the state of health in West Tampa. African Americans tend to be, when it comes to health, among the worst. According to the the Center for Disease Control, African Americans are more likely to experience and die from complications from diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, asthma, and heart disease compared to whites. In fact, 60% more blacks are more likely to suffer from diabetes than white. In the case of asthma, African Americans are 3 times as likely to die from asthma than white. We're using what's known as a whole holistic approach to deal with health in our community. A holistic approach deals with the physical, it deals with the emotion, the mental, the social, and the spiritual aspect of that individual. We're more focused on Chinese medicine than Western medicine. In Western medicine, the prescription is to give you a pill. In Chinese medicine, the prescription is to treat the whole body. So as we move forward in 2024, we want to be one of the first communities to do a community-wide health initiative to get our community healthy. Because as you know, health is related to economic development. Happy holiday.
Thank you very much, sir. Next up is Amanda. No? All right, next up is Miss Robin Lockett. Miss Lockett?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Oh, good morning, good morning. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
I've listened to the item 4 in regards to the curfew. I think this is an opportunity for us to take a step back to really talk to all governmental agencies to come up with a real plan. I don't think anything should be forced. I don't think anything should happen by happenstance. I think that if the serious question is in regards to how these kids get guns. So being that we can't touch that, or we can't resolve that, we need to put a tighter Band-Aid, because that's all it is a Band-Aid on this. You need the school district involved. You need county commission involved. It doesn't need just to be a citywide curfew. It needs to be a countywide curfew. But should truancy be included in that? So there's so many different factors for this council to have an opportunity to really try to get it as right as they can, right? Something needs to be done. Accountability has to happen. And that accountability has to be with the parents also. So they can't be left out. So there needs to be a conversation with all of the governmental agencies and with some common sense folks, so you guys won't do things top heavy, to really come up with a plan that curbs it. It won't resolve it, but curb it, because we have a real big issue here. And I'm disappointed that this conversation and the urgency just came when this happened in Ybor City, when East Tampa has been crying out about gun violence for years. So thank you for your time, and Merry Christmas, and I'll be back down there New Year.
Yes, ma'am, thank you very much. That concludes our virtual public comment, correct, Madam Clerk? We'll go to the in-person public comment. If you wish to speak, please come up, state your name. You'll have 3 minutes. Yes, sir. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Craig Fulton. I addressed the council last week. I was at the wrong meeting, but I need to raise awareness again to the loud music and partying going on the Courtney Campbell Causeway on the Tampa side. After I had attended a meeting on Thursday, it flared back up again Friday night. I went out there, witnessed it firsthand. I think this is something that can escalate, and really what I'm asking for is just to enforce the law. There are no trespassing signs posted there, and the police officers aren't enforcing it. There's city noise ordinances, the police officers aren't enforcing it. I was on the phone Friday night until 2 in the morning with 3 different police officers. And the sentiment I'm getting is, yeah, it's great. We're not doing it. Like, I'm not going out there and trying to arrest 30 people when I'm one officer by myself. I did a little research on this. 820 people have signed a petition to try and do something out there. There's a Nextdoor app I found. There's dozens of posts, people complaining about this. I just asked the law be enforced. That's it. I don't want to be woken up again tomorrow night, 2 in the morning, my kids crying, asking, can you make it quiet so we can sleep? So I got video of it. Just one thing I want to say is, just maybe they're watching. The Friday night I went out there and spoke to them. It was very cordial. It started off a little rough, but we ended up coming to an agreement. And they said, hey, we're people. We all want everybody to get along. We'll move. But I don't think that's going to be every group. You know, there's been we're talking gun violence. I saw that a kid got shot out there. A little child got shot and killed. 2 people escalated. I feel like this is the kind of thing that can escalate like that, especially when I show up and there's 5 cases of beer sitting there and everyone's drinking. You know they're going to get in their car and start driving. I've been criticized for being petty about this, not by this council, but by the public. I can just see this escalating. It's not going to be petty when they get in their car drunk and slam into someone and kill them. So that's all I have to say. I just
If I may, thank you very much for the courage to say what you're saying. And factually, if you may, can you show us that video?
Yeah.
On your, I just saw it temporarily when I was speaking to him before the meeting started for a second there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I don't know, should I like bring a PowerPoint presentation?
Just put it down there in the
On the overhead.
Put it on the whiteboard. Yeah, put it all the way down.
Put it on, yeah, there you go.
All right, hold on.
So you can see the speakers
here,
and
they're set up, right? You got cases of beer
there it is.
And they're all just sitting around partying. And there's a speaker system. There's one. There's 2 more over there. I can hear it 5.8 miles away. I'm not crazy.
By the way, your comments have already been given to the chief by my aide. She just told me she just did that.
Yeah, and you can see here, it says right there, plain as day.
By order of FDOT. All right, thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, next speaker, yes, sir.
And tis not Tampa, Florida, I want to say Uhuru. Uhuru means freedom in Swahili, and we as African people should always be thinking about our freedom. I want to invite the man over to my house and his family and come over there and spend the night and chill out and relax. But I also want to say inside our communities, that's the only thing we have to do. And with gentrification, there's a certain kind of problems that we have. We see other people come down here and complain about the same thing. It's a couple of hours of fun and entertainment and hanging out. And now it's escalating. No, it's going to be a shootout. They got beer. They got this. They got nonsense, plain nonsense. I want to say that we're concerned about what's going on in Ybor City, and rightfully so. That's been going on in East Tampa, West Tampa, Central Park, Robles Park, Tampa Heights, and other places for a very long time. And the city council took a certain kind of liking.
Okay. Sorry, sir. Go ahead.
The city council took a certain kind of liking, and the business owners in Ybor City took a certain kind of liking and interest to what happened over there. But you don't want to say this. It's interesting that one person got killed or murdered, or 2 people got killed or murdered in Ybor City, and this city and city council put so much attention on it. And nobody in this city council, like I always say, 7 sissy cowards. Nobody opened their mouth to say one thing. 30,000 people dead in Palestine. 30,000 mostly women and children dead in Palestine, and nobody say not one single word about it. Cowards. Straight cowards. Local cowards. International cowards. National cowards. Nothing more, nothing less. No humanity. There's no way you can represent people and not care about what's going on in Palestine. It's no way. Absolutely, positively no way. have to divert talking about reparations to talk about the tragedy that's taking place in Palestine. And not one city council representative to say, hey, you represent all the people. You represent all the people. Won't open their mouths and say, hey, look, like that's a horrendous act, horrendous activity taking place in Palestine. It's no way. I could not see living through an era, no era in this world I could see living through and not say something about it. The things y'all talk about, half of it, 90% of it makes no sense and isn't connected to anything. Now we're talking about the death of a couple of people in Ybor City. It's a big deal, and I'm sure somebody was heard about it. But we want to hear our representatives say something about what's going on in Palestine. That's what we want to hear.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, next speaker. Yes, sir. Please state your name.
My name is Franklin Perez, and I live in Seminole and Hillsborough counties. If you have made any pro-Israel resolutions in the past, I ask that you rescind them all. Enough is enough. Israel is a Jewish supremacist apartheid state that has been committing ethnic cleansing and human rights abuses against Palestinians for 75 plus years, as per reports from reputable human rights organizations like B'Tselem, Human Rights Watch, and Amnesty International. Stop supporting Israel. Stop giving it weapons. Stop giving it money. And condemn it for what it is, an apartheid state. Many human rights experts refer to Gaza as an open-air concentration camp. The Israeli apartheid regime's prime minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has invoked genocidal language against Palestinians in the Gaza concentration camp by referring to an ancient biblical passage in the Old Testament comparing Palestinians to the Amalekites that must all be put to death. Men, women, children, babies. The Israeli apartheid regime's defense minister, Yoav Gallant, has dehumanized Palestinians by referring to Palestinians in the Gaza concentration camp as human animals. Miko Peled, Israeli Jew, son of a famous Israeli Jew general, ex-Zionist occupation forces enforcer, and Palestinian rights activist, has stated that the Israeli army is the best terrorist group in the world. Ex-Israeli Jew Zionist occupation forces pilot, Yonatan Shapira, has stated that the Israeli army is a terrorist organization run by war criminals. At this point, due to scattered Zionist-only occupier settlements in the West Bank, the only fair solution to the Israel-Palestine conflict is a one-state solution where everyone, Jew and Palestinian, has equal rights. That's what is referred to as a free Palestine from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. All U.S. government entities should be pressuring the Israeli apartheid regime to move towards such a free Palestine. That includes the dismantling of the Gaza concentration camp. The refrain that Israel has the right to self-defense is a red herring. The real question is, does Israel have the right to use force to maintain an illegal occupation and apartheid state that commits ethnic cleansing and human rights abuses against Palestinians? The clear answer is no. Under international law, Israel has no right of self-defense when it is the oppressor and occupier, while Palestinians do have the right to physically resist and defend themselves against their oppressor and occupier, the Israeli apartheid regime. Our tax dollars should be going back to our own communities, not to support unrelenting bombing in Gaza. No more money for Israel's crimes. I request that the Tampa City Council introduce a resolution to stand with Palestinians around the world in demanding an end to the siege of Gaza, a permanent ceasefire, and an end to all U.S. aid to Israel. Military, economic, political. Ceasefire now, ceasefire now, ceasefire now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Next speaker.
Let me get out of the way here. Quickly.
Hey, my name's Dave Coleman. I haven't been here a while, so I got three things. Just a heads up, rail law. U.S. attorney will be heading here soon enough. They were recently at the County Planning Commission to develop a golf course adjacent to the burial mound in the Forest Preserve. This just 9 days after having indigenous leaders at a forum by the Art Museum. They are not transparent, they are disingenuous. They will need your vote, don't give it to them. I realized recently that there was a church on 7th Avenue. Kids heading home from church should not have their rights infringed. I was at the church on a TPD Tuesday to ask Chief Burklaw if he lost a valuable tool when Jay Collins pushed permitless carry through. He said it's okay, they have workarounds. The chief has been working on community policing and building trust. Has anyone asked him if he needs new laws to confront a 14-year-old with a pistol in a parking lot at 11 p.m.? I think all you need is the existing loitering laws. And TPD's in the room. Ask him, did the Tampa Times wrongfully put a target on my back? There is ample evidence that the fear and hate that shows itself as anti-Semitism comes from far-right conservative groups, not some crack in the progressive wall of tolerance. Even years ago, I watched Blake's students protesting Parkland. They walked past snipers on a roof and they were surrounded by SWAT to read their statements in Curtis Hickson Park. The comments on the Fox 13 live stream lit up. Conservative verbal abuse against kids, asking to end violence was sickening. The lack of response to the Nazis flying their flag at our convention center last year. The lack of attendance at Nikki Fried's press conference the very next day. No arrests taken against the distribution of anti-Semitic hate packets in my friend's targeted neighborhood. 1 and 2 hate comments on a conservative live stream at a recent Palestinian rally should scare anyone. How dare they fly that flag? Those poor children, they are ignorant. Go back to Palestine. Bring in food and be ready to defend your families. Again and again, here in Tampa, it's conservatives with no tolerance. You don't hear progressives here in town prepping for Armageddon. As the world turns its attention to 20,000 mostly women and children gone in Gaza, our electeds in Tampa should not fuel hate. I will sit and talk with an elder I met born in Jerusalem. His sister still living there. He's not allowed back. As well as I will run to my Jewish friend that had Proud Boys and Nazi come to her house. Maybe the Times should retract itself. Maybe our city and county needs to stand up against oppression, even as it comes from the far right here at home. There is no crack in my wall of tolerance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, yes, sir?
Good morning. My name is Omar Al-Hawari and I stand before you today not just as a representative of my organization but as an immigrant who once sought refuge in this country fleeing the horrors of war in Syria. I'm grateful to enjoy everyday freedoms and to live my life surrounded by those I love and care for. It is with that gratitude I bring forth a matter of urgent concern to this council. The genocide in Gaza demands our immediate attention not just as a distant crisis but as a shared responsibility that resonates with our local community here in Tampa. As a city known for its diversity and inclusivity, we must acknowledge the direct impact this international crisis has on our residents and greater communities. Our local Muslim community is experiencing a surge in Islamophobia with an alarming increase of over 300%. Healthcare providers essential to our community's well-being are being targeted and doxxed at their workplaces. Our student groups, vital for cultural understanding and unity, are being shut down under the guise of discriminatory policies imposed by Governor DeSantis. All the while, you have stayed absolutely silent. Allow me to share some statistics that shed light on the significance of our Muslim community here in Florida. Florida boasts as the second largest Muslim population in the nation, with over 500,000 Muslims across the state. We are the most diverse state in the nation, representing 85 different Muslim nationalities. Florida is also the most affluent state in the country, possessing both financial resources and cultural wealth. Despite these contributions and the challenges our community faces, there has been a constant silence from this council. It is disheartening to note that while you have publicly supported Jewish community in op-eds and statements, there has been a deliberate omission of any acknowledgement or support for the Muslim community. We are not asking for preferential treatment, merely equal consideration. Our shared values of justice, freedom, and compassion should extend to every community within our city. It is time for the City Council to stand with us, acknowledge our concerns, publicly call for a ceasefire now, and an end to the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Next speaker. Yes, sir.
Good morning, council members. My name is Shihab Ahmed. Thank you for letting me speak. I'd like to take a moment to pray for Council Member Henderson's mother. I'd also like to take a second to compliment Council Member Miranda's tie. I think it's very beautiful.
Yes. Second.
I dropped out of high school when I was 16 years old. I was never interested in academics. I hated tests. I would always find ways to evade class and assignments. But there was one thing that always intrigued me: classics. I didn't understand them. Why would we be forced to read a book? What makes a book a classic? So I picked one up. I picked up Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451 and began reading. The now 70-year-old book immediately clenched me. For those who haven't read the book, our protagonist, Montag, he's a firefighter in a world where books are banned, and the duty of the firefighter is to find and burn books. Society has been convinced that reading is bad for you. Suicide, abortion, and teenage violence run rampant. Politics are a joke, and somewhere in the white noise background, there's a war going on. Meanwhile, at home, everyone has a parlor. Some have 3 or 4 in the same room. There are these entire walls that show everything from clowns killing each other to news broadcasts and video calls to your family, all in a matter of seconds. But Bradbury goes even further than that. He discusses these seashells, these thimbles that go in your ear, to which you listen to the radio all night. Doesn't that sound like the world we live in today? The plot of the story is Montag wondering with a deathly curiosity why his society chooses to be ignorant, why they opt to ignore reading and learning. Eventually, he can no longer tolerate it. He decides to rebel. The police hunt him, but he continues to stand for what he believes is right. Now, I won't spoil the ending for anyone who hasn't read the book, but I'd like to return to the question, what makes a book a classic? And I find that one answer is because it speaks to the value of our society, right? Fahrenheit 451 speaks to the value of our society, to American society, the American value of standing up for what's right, for liberty and justice for all. So I stand before you today, council members, to call all of us here towards what is right, despite it being perhaps the unpopular opinion. Thousands of innocents are dying because of our silence. And I opt to uphold the American value of standing up for what's right that has been the pillar of our society, and I call all of us here to join me in that regard. And as we recess for the holiday to spend time with our families, I'd like to remind us that Bethlehem has canceled Christmas. Or I repeat, the birthplace of Jesus has canceled Christmas. And if the home of Jesus isn't celebrating Christmas this year, then what does that say about us? To conclude, I'd like to mention a quote by Bradbury himself where he said, "You don't have to burn books to destroy culture. Just get people to stop reading them." Thank you, and happy holidays.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir, next speaker.
Hello, my name is Luis Salazar, President LGBT Caucus here in Hillsborough County. I'm here to talk to you today about the curfew, item agenda number 4. It is concerning to us still that there is zero transparency from the administration about data. What is going to happen? What are the numbers? What does this mean for our city? Today, as was spoken before by the city attorney, we're going to hold our breath and hope that those are going to be good things, right? You haven't seen the data, which means we haven't seen the data, which we're coming to this item agenda unprepared to speak about it. This is going to seriously affect Black and brown children and young people in our community, which is only going to give them a path that is not a positive way. The last time we were here, Chief Bearclaw said that they were going to put them in facilities. Let's not sugarcoat it. That means jail. They're going to hold them in jail. They're going to put more kids in jail, and they're going to continue the prison system that is failing us right now. There has to be better ways for us to do this. I encourage you to please think of more things that we can do besides putting young kids in jail, fining them, which they are never going to pay those fines. I was a young person that got curfew fines. I still, to this day, have never paid them. So think about that. Think about what you're doing to set the path of these young kids and the way that they want to go. Once again, judging by the kafiyas behind me, we came before you to say, think about equality and speak out about equality. You are failing at including the people that are included in this conversation, right? So the people that this is affecting, you're not talking to them. Please go talk to them. All these people in here that are standing in line with kafiyas on, have you spoke to any of them? Have you spoke to the young people in Ybor? Have you spoke to the business owners? Have you spoke to the people this is going to affect? Because I can assure you that I can ask each and every one of them, and they're going to say no. So please, get out there, speak to them, become involved with your community. They voted you in. You represent them. Bring better solutions than putting kids in jail and locking them up and fining them, especially Black and brown kids, because that's who this is going to affect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker. Yes, sir.
Hi, Hi, my name is Matt Levine. I've lived in Tampa my entire life. I'm a member of Tampa DSA. I'm also a Jewish American. I was bar mitzvahed at Temple Beth Am. I want to start by saying that a curfew is not a way to solve anything. That would just be basically a ridiculous restriction on people's freedoms, even if they're under 18. And with regard to Palestine, someone on this council wrote an op-ed the other day that made the disgusting conflation of anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. And I'm here to tell you that Jewish Zionism has only been around since about 1880. And for that, the entire time that it has existed, most of the world's Jews have been proudly opposed to it. So don't ever say that criticizing Israel is anti-Semitic. That assertion in itself is anti-Semitic. It's part of Israel's hasbara. That's their word, the Hebrew word for explaining. That's the way they explain away all their atrocities, hasbara. There was a State Department official named Josh Paul who quit his job on October 17th over President Biden's insistence on sending weapons to Israel even though they're being used for illegal purposes. Craig Ybor was the former New York director for the UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. He resigned in late October over what he called, quote, the most clear-cut case of genocide I have seen in my career. High Israeli officials have made statements of clear genocidal intent. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described the invasion of Gaza as a holy mission, and he said, "You must remember what Amalek has done to you," says our Holy Bible. The Old Testament, 1 Samuel 15:3 states, "Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass." Raz Siegel, an Israeli expert in modern genocide, said in an October 16th interview on Democracy Now!, quote, "We have to understand that the UN Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide from 1948 requires that we see special intent for genocide to happen." And I don't have time to go into all the other statements, but that intent has been made very clear. We need this council to pass a resolution for a ceasefire and to end the arming of Israel. We also need protection from Islamophobia, like what was spread in that op-ed in Tampa Bay Times.
Thank you very much, sir.
And an end to the Florida Israel Business Accelerator. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Good morning. My name is Manny Ramirez, and I'm a member of La Voz de Tampa Bay. La Voz is a new organization advocating for responsible policies that benefit both the people of Tampa and the people of Cuba and promote normalizing relations between our peoples. I'm here today to denounce an attack that took place on December 9th against the Cuban people and the members of our community who have been complicit in these kinds of violence. On December 9th, a Cuban resident of the U.S. traveled from South Florida to Cuba via jet ski to distribute firearms and incite violent attacks on the island. This recent attack is part of a broader history of violence coordinated by small but well-resourced groups of Cuban Americans who aim to sow division for their own personal benefit. It is estimated that since 1959, there have been over 500 attacks against Cuba's diplomatic entities alone. Just recently in 2020, an AK-47 was fired 30 times at the Cuban embassy in Washington, D.C. And this year, the embassy was attacked again with Molotov cocktails. So it's important to state that some groups within the Tampa community express support for these acts of violence. These same groups have disrupted peaceful community events, undermined diplomatic efforts, and called even for military invasions of Cuba. Meanwhile, the Tampa City Council, unfortunately, has legitimized some of these same violent groups, whether knowingly or not, by doing things such as passing resolutions of support for their members, and even making public appearances with some of their members. The Cuban American community is overwhelmingly comprised of members who seek peace and unity between the people of Cuba and the people of the United States. We must come together and form a united stance against these groups who seek to divide us through their violence and their selfishness. And from one blockaded people under attack to another, our community knows that it is not in our interest for the people of Cuba to live under U.S. blockade, just as it is not in our interest for the Palestinian people to live under Israeli blockade. So I stand today in support of this body to pass resolutions calling for the end of the blockade of the Cuban people and the end of the blockade on the people of Gaza. We need a permanent ceasefire now. We need to end all law enforcement cooperation with Israel. And we need to end also the criminalization of those who fight for Palestinian liberation. Thank you.
Good morning. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Pastor Williams. My church located at 1112 East Scott Street. Paradise Missionary Baptist Church is my church. I was traveling on the train last week, and I've been down here many times telling y'all, do y'all have any authority at all? That Jackson house that they got right there on Zach or whatever is still standing and look like it's falling to the ground. You all need to get with your mayor and tell them they need to tear that damn thing down. I mean, tear it down to the ground. And we know we're in a war. We're basically in a war, the Jews, the Mexican, people of color, the Indian, and all other races are in a war, not against one another, but against the government. Look like the government don't give a damn what we say, or what we have to say. But one thing we gotta do, we gotta stand up for what's right. Whether y'all wanna stand up or not, we gotta stand up for what's right. And the right is to do unto others as you will have them do unto you. That's what the Bible says. You know what? I've been coming down here many years, and those things y'all call a retention pond, y'all need to fill those things up and let them build some homes on it. Because ain't nothing there but snakes and coons and pops and whatever they have run across the street. And nobody give a damn. And you know why don't nobody give a damn? Because we are people of color. The only place they got out there dug up is Belmont Heights and Jackson Heights. Why don't they put a swamp land right here with this building and y'all build a new one? Because this thing here is too small for everybody to come in. Then they got that security gate out there. They almost stripped to come in here. And it's ridiculous. And so many things being done, but y'all don't seem to have no power to do nothing. But y'all need to get together and talk to y'all mayor. Hey, we want our power. Or we city council, we voted in, we want our power just like you got power. And y'all need to do what's right for all people, not just some people. And I got a bill here. I'm gonna see if y'all gonna do something. I got a water bill here for almost $1,000. And this for just 1 month or 2 months, whatever. And I can't understand why they see me on TV, so they say, well, we got to get him out of Tampa, and they trying to.
Thank you very much,
I know
sir.
I got to go, but why don't y'all do something for people? Can I get somebody to run a copy off of this for me and give it to the city council? Can you do it,
He'll
please?
take it, he'll take it.
And I keep one for myself.
Thank you very
If
much.
you want me to pay that bill.
Yes, ma'am, next speaker.
Run a copy of this here water bill. That's a one bill, they're almost $1,000.
Good morning, Council. My name is Megan Eimer, and I'm a resident of the Tampa Bay area with 2 young kids, a 4- and a 6-year-old, that enjoy all the great parks that you guys have downtown. So I want to thank you for that. I brought my dad with me because he's a beacon of hope for me. He's given me strength. He was a wee little Irish boy in Brooklyn, New York with red hair. He was a Catholic boy, and the Catholics used to throw stones at the Jewish kids, and the Jewish kids used to throw stones at the Catholic kids in Brooklyn, but they made up and they got together. So I'm so excited to be a resident of Tampa because I believe it's a true melting pot. We have thousands of Arabs, thousands of Muslims here, thousands of Christians, huge Jewish population, and I really think it's a beacon of light for the rest of the nation. Because it's this beacon of light, I come here today with 4 requests specifically for you to encourage unity, peace, and reconciliation within the communities here. So the first ask is to take a stand with the Israel-Gaza conflict. You've already heard a lot about it already, and to produce a ceasefire resolution. If you feel you can't do that, I'm not really sure why, but if you feel you can't, even a unity resolution, some type of unity resolution to show that you acknowledge the pain and suffering of all members of your community, the Jewish, Islamic, Christians, non-biased, whatever it is, just recognize all of your citizens that live here in Tampa. Secondly, I know on October 7th, the Tampa City said very urgently needed medical supplies over to Israel. That was fantastic. But I really hope that there's a new humanitarian crisis going on in Gaza right now. And I'm hoping that you could look to possibly see if you have any extra medical supplies that you can send into Gaza as well. We do have a representative from CARE here that could let you know about all the different organizations that are getting aid into Gaza. It's a huge humanitarian crisis, and we would love for you to also send some supplies if you have any excess with the fire department, police department, etc. Third, Tampa City has an amazing Sister Cities program with 12 different cities, I believe. I know one in Italy, one in Colombia, but you also have the Sister Cities program with Ashrod, Israel. So I ask you, as the city with a melting pot, a beacon of life here within the U.S., to maybe consider a Sister Cities program with the city in Gaza or the West Bank, if there's any cities left in Gaza, but one of the cities, just to show that there is true unity here within Tampa, and there can be unity, there can be peace. I'm Irish. The Irish gave up the north of Ireland to the UK for peace. Peace can happen, but we need everybody to come in and to support that. The last request I have for you is that the Tampa City Police has an amazing professional standards bureau. They have this great non-biased policing profiling policy to make sure that race, ethnic origin, or religion not be independent factors or reasons for any action by Tampa police members. I would love for the Tampa Police and their professional standards bureau to actually mentor and advise the Israeli police forces. Yes, we can cut off cooperation, but in this case, I do believe the Israeli police force would actually benefit from this training on non-biased police profiling.
Thank you very much. Next speaker. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Lena Vu, and I'm here today to urge you to pass a formal resolution calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza. For the past 76 days, I've been watching as the Palestinian men of Gaza tirelessly, day in and day out, dig through rubble with their bare hands, frantically searching for their loved ones beneath bombarded buildings, while the media and politicians continue to try to dehumanize them to further justify this genocide. And I just have to say, I have never felt so much care and admiration for people that I have never met before. And the first thing that I do every day when I wake up is check to make sure that the journalists in Gaza that I have come to know and care deeply for are still alive, because we know that they are being targeted and murdered, and so are their families. One of the journalists is a 9-year-old girl named Lama, and where else would you find a 9-year-old girl reporting on the genocide of her people? All the while, the world is watching in silence and ignoring the war crimes and crimes against humanity being inflicted onto them. And I can't even begin to imagine what it's like for the Palestinians around the world who have loved ones in Gaza, not knowing whether or not they're still alive and whether they'll even make it out of this by the end of it. And sadly, we are all complicit in this genocide because our tax dollars are funding it. It's sickening that Palestinians in the U.S. don't have any control over where their money goes as it goes towards the bombs being dropped on their friends and family in Gaza. If the more than 25,000 civilians killed, many with the use of unguided dumb bombs or the execution-style murder of civilians somehow isn't indicative of the fact that the Zionist occupation forces don't care about civilian lives, then maybe the 3 escaped Israeli hostages who were shot dead by the same terrorist occupation forces when they were shirtless, waving a white flag and yelling in Hebrew is. But I mean, the Zionist occupation forces did kill a bunch of their own Israeli settlers on October 7th, so we really shouldn't be that surprised. And finally, just as it's not Islamophobic to criticize the actions of Saudi Arabia or Iran, it is not anti-Semitic to criticize the settler colonial state of Israel, especially since it's been oppressing the Palestinian people for over 75 years. And yet we don't hear a condemnation for the illegal occupation, ethnic cleansing, or apartheid practices of Israel. Just say you don't care about Black and brown lives, Arab lives, or Muslim lives. Don't pretend like you care when you do, like Councilman Vieira over here in his recent column in the Tampa Bay Times. We all know that anti-Semitism is a critical issue that should be discussed and taken seriously, but so should Islamophobia, and yet your small mention of it in that column barely even felt like an afterthought, even though members of this community came to you about this issue.
Thank you very much.
Shame on you.
All right, next speaker.
Good morning, Council. This is
Good
my
morning.
first time addressing you all. I am a recent mover here from the Washington, D.C. area. So I do like to participate in the local politics of where I reside in Hillsborough County. So I'm here to speak about Resolution 568, which I'm sure you all are familiar with.
What was your name, ma'am?
Gigi Gaddis.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm
Go
a
ahead.
retired naval commander, and I do understand war. So having done 30 years, it is not pretty, it is not easy. And it is a hard job, and it's easy for people to volunteer the military to go somewhere when you will not serve your country as it stands. So I do not support that. But I'm here to talk about Resolution 568. Congratulations on passing that in 2020. Now you are residing with California and now New York State in addressing these issues. But I would just like to know which of the council is going to champion this action, because this happened in 2020. So it is 2023, and I've checked on the database since I've got here, and I haven't seen any movement or anybody who's going to champion moving any of the 6 points that were allocated in this resolution. So I'm asking which one of you will be that champion for this resolution. What civil rights organizations have you been working with in Tampa to come up with the commission? Because part of this resolution says that you're going to put forth a commission to look at activities and items to start addressing them. So I'd like to know which civil rights organizations in Tampa you're working with. What funds are you going to commit to the commission so they can do the job to address the 6 points? Now, I would hope to get you give me the same deference you gave Speaker 1 in talking back and forth and asking questions, because I'm new here and I don't know the rules, but I would hope I'm going to get a response to my questions. I am not just here to vocalize to you what's happening as elected officials. It is your responsibility to vocalize back with me on how you plan to redress what this resolution is asking for. So I will yield the rest of my minute to the council to talk back to me.
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman, again, Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. My apologies to City Council, but I did not. We went into live public comment without my reading the comments about the rules, which I would like to generally. I could read the whole thing now, but...
Before, if I may,
Yes.
this is not substantively a response, other than, ma'am, if you want to talk outside right now, glad to give you my information, we can meet.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
And if I can, just for the benefit of the public today, that there is a council rule that says city council members should refrain from engaging a speaker under public comment. And the public should be aware that city council does not take questions or have a dialogue during general public comment. This is your opportunity to express your position. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Good morning, City Council, members of the Chamber. My name is Darrell Heitch, and I too have come before you to address Resolution number 568. I want to first of all thank the council person who actually reached out to schedule some time to discuss this issue. But with that being said, I'm listening to the audience and I'm hearing the passion that's going forth as relate to Gaza and the different things. I've come to realize that even though in the last 2 weeks, if you pass a resolution, I've come to realize that a resolution is basically a quorum of a group of individuals of like-minded understandedness, and there's no legal binding authority or anything that you can do as relate to it. unless it moves over to yet until you move it into an ordinance or whatever the steps may take. So today, I brought a couple documents, a couple pictures I want to share with you in hopes to be able to pull up on your heartstring. How do I do this here? Here we go.
Upside down. Turn it the other way. Turn it the other way. Okay.
In a hope to pull up on your heartstring and your emotions. This picture right here is a picture of what is called the door of no return. That's the picture of Africans leaving on an 8,139-mile voyage to the city of Tampa. I Googled what it took to get to Tampa from Africa. And they showed up, and that was the last picture that they seen when they left those shores as they were coming over here to be enslaved. Resolution 568 was your understanding of what took place and your apology toward it. I want to show you another picture to show you what happens, as I stated last week, that America moves swiftly when a wrong happens against white America. Here's what happened, fast forward, in 1921 in the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma, when a white woman on an elevator stated that she had been accosted by a black person, a black man. They turned that city upside down, they burned it to ruins, and they left that city looking, as you see here, decimated. And see, until something happens to white America, this action began to take place. We're only asking, since I know you can't do fully or do a whole lot with the resolution, my ask is that you looking up on your heart, and in your heartstring, you begin to utilize your brain cells, as you stated, thought-provoking things and ideas to bring forth this Reconciliation Commission. So as you go forth throughout the week, and as you walk into the holiday season, think about the door of no return. Think about Black Wall Street. Think about what has happened and why we're dealing with the symptoms of what took place in the U.S., and those symptoms are violence, crime, hurt, harm, and danger. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, sir. Please state your name.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ahmed Abawad. I'm a Palestinian American. I noticed throughout this whole committee meeting that there's so much empathy amongst all of you, that you can see the problems of the world, you can see all of us and empathize. We've been marching, we've been protesting, we've been on the news, we've been interviewing, all to garner your interests, all to just vocalize what we've been going through. And as a member, as an individual of Palestinian heritage who directly has family in Gaza, who they detailed to me how vivid and how painful it is for them to live in Gaza, and the psychological treatment, the starvation, the dehydration, the lack of sleep, anything in every way that you could beat a human being down, they've been going through it. And I try to see that same empathy that you have for your other council members and for the community in Tampa, that you could exhibit to somebody across the world, that we're all interconnected in some way, that they're just not people that are thousands of miles away, but that the decisions we make in this council are important, that they reflect support and inspiration for other people, that what we do here matters. And I don't begin to understand or know what you guys have behind closed doors or make any assumptions or what your reasoning is for whatever. But we will keep protesting. We will keep expressing our dissent. We'll keep letting you know that there are issues that we are gravely concerned about, that have conversations with us, have discourse. Let us know how you want to help, how we can sort of build more united fronts, and that we can just express that the Palestinian people are humans. We're not subhuman. They are not subhuman. The Israeli military and government gaslights us at every turn that we can possibly get. The media gaslights us in thinking that there's a victim and a perpetrator that are reversed. And I'm speaking to people on the ground who are crying to me on the phone, and I'm holding back my tears in every conversation, trying to just listen to them, to empathize, to do whatever I can, but it'll never be enough. I alone do not have any power, but collectively, that's a whole different story. So what is it that I ask of you? What I'm asking of you is what everybody else has been asking of you, that there's motions that are in support of the Israeli government and military and factions, and we should, as individuals, really examine them, and as legislators, really examine them and speak to the people in your constituents and decide, do I want to be complicit in a genocide amongst innocent people? Do I want to continue the starvation and the mistreatment and malnutrition of all these people? Thank you so much, and I'll leave my contact information for anybody who wants
Thank
to
you
reach
very
out.
much, sir. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Who else is there anybody else that's gonna be speaking? Yes, ma'am. Will you be our last speaker, or we have, all right. Yeah, if you would please stand up, line up, and then we'll finish with public comment. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, council. My name is Bishop Michelle B. Patty. I come in support of the citywide curfew from South Tampa to North Tampa and all in between. What people may have forgotten, there was a curfew when I was growing up. The announcer would announce at 11 p.m., do you know where your children are? No one has come up and said why 14 and 15-year-old kids should be on any street. Sex trafficking is real in this state. We should enforce, this would help parents. A lot of parents do not have control over their children anymore. If there's a curfew, you're giving them some rights. No, it will not solve all the problem, but it would be a help in the right direction. I heard Black and White Black is the reason why they don't want to enforce a curfew. That's mixing apples with oranges. Not to say that things were done wrong, but you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. If people are infringing on folks' rights, then you deal with that situation. But right now, children are dying in the streets of Tampa. Children are going to prison. 14-year-old children would be spending the rest of their lives in prison, where a curfew might have helped, but the curfew need to go a little deeper. We need to find out why the children are out in the street. If you find a child in the street, what's going on at home? I don't think you should put more resources into organizations that doing bouncy houses and hot dogs. We need to find out, do that parent need help at home? Is there mental issues at home? Is there abuse at home? What is taking place at home where that parent is allowing that child to be roaming the streets all times of night and morning? So the curfew is a step in the right direction. People seem to not care about children that are dying. They don't seem to, it's like see Daisy. And I'm really appalled because I've been to enough funerals, done eulogies of children. Children should be outliving their parents, not dying to senseless gun violence. We have got to take control. So this council need to step in the right direction and talking about rights infringing. Your rights, if you're dead, you have no rights. If you're in prison, you have no rights. So yes, we've seen that things have not been equal, but that's where you, the council, have to implement some teeth in how this is going to be applied and utilized with our community. No child should be roaming the streets. They should be home doing their homework. They should be home going to bed so they can be productive citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Next speaker. Please state your name.
Grace Sanchez. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here speaking as a mother, as a Mexican mother, and also an American, okay? I have seen children writing their own testaments instead of writing Christmas wishes. Parents are writing their children's names on their arms and legs to make sure they can be identified in case they're blown to pieces, instead of writing their names on presents. We're kissing our kids good morning as mothers are kissing their kids goodbye. If Jesus is not the reason for the season, what is? With what face are we ever going to face Jesus and say, we did what you asked us? We provided weapons to the apartheid state that stole your land. We supported a bombing that has gone over 2 months. Jesus, to celebrate your birth, we have killed over 10,000 children just like you, fleeing for their lives. We're also allowing Israel IDF to bomb hospitals, United Nations schools, refugee camps, mosques. Jesus, we have made sure that they die either by starvation, thirst, lack of medical attention, bombing them as they sleep, lead them up with white phosphorus bombs. We send our snipers to shoot children, pregnant women, innocent men, or elderly. Jesus, to show you our faith, we allow the IDF to kick everyone out of a hospital and leave behind newborn babies to die in incubators, to die of starvation, cold, to die of indifference. We want to make sure no one hears their screams by killing and targeting journalists and their families. Jesus, to honor your sacrifice for us, we help wipe out your people and punish everyone trying to help or speak up against them. If you say that you're not in support of this, where is your voice and condemnation against these crimes? Why the life of 40 beheaded children, which it was already proven that it wasn't true, has more worth than 10,000 Palestinian children? Where is your guys' voice? I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are parents. How could you sleep? How could you sleep knowing this is going on? How could you kiss your children? Where are your values? Where are your values? What are your children going to ask you when they read about this in school? What did you do to stop this, dad, to help the children just like me? I know sometimes speaking up is scary, especially when you have power against you. But you know what? We are brave. And I'm pretty sure you guys can find that inside your hearts to speak up and don't let nobody shut you down. Speak up even when your voice shakes, even when you're scared. Please show us the support.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Next speaker, please state your name.
Hi, Council. Well, first I'm asking, can I use my 3 minutes for public comment if the item has been pulled?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Please state your name.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Fran Costantino, and I'm a resident, business, and property owner in historic East Ybor City. My nonno came from Sicily in 1906. The Costantino family has been contributing to East Ybor for 117 years. He boarded a ship, of which I have his manifest, on Victoria and sailed from Sicily with no money, not speaking English, and ended up at Tampa, Florida. The Monteleones lived next door to him and gave him a job pouring sidewalks. He did that and then progressed to making troughs for family farm animals, and then eventually got into the tombstone business. So if you go to a cemetery and you see the old markers with the little ceramic tiles, those were probably made by my nonno. The family, for some reason, this has been misunderstood, and it's been put family against family, and about Fran Costantino, which it is not. This has to do with the park, and I will give you a reason as to why and how that park is there. When I went to an Ybor City Rotary meeting, Pam Iorio was then mayor and was there. And I told her, I said, Pam, I need to bring you to East Ybor. And all this can be verified. The children on the corner of my office, this is hard to believe because it sounds like from a third world country, they wadded up enough newspaper, wrapped it in duct tape, and actually tossed it into a milk carton attached to a utility pole, and that's how these children played basketball. At their bus stop, waiting for the bus, they got a soccer ball, tied it with a rope around a stop sign, and played in the street unsupervised until their parents were able to pick them up when the school bus left them off. They had no place to go. They couldn't go to the boys' club. They couldn't go anywhere. So then I pleaded with Pam to please do something so that we would not have the element repeating itself of the parents and the crack addicts and whatever. I mean, I literally, when I came in 1999, picked up needles, spent bullets, used condoms just from the curb to my office. And when the police used to come and say, Ms. Costantino, I really think you should leave, I said, no, you have to make them leave. We were here before them. So I pleaded with her, and she promised that she would give that park to the children of East Ybor. And ironically, I'm the one that named it the East Ybor Park. And since then, I have been approached to leave the family legacy long after I'm gone. I'm 80 and sort of retiring. And so I felt like maybe it was time to go ahead and accept the invitation and leave the Costantino legacy in East Ybor. So therefore, it's not one family against another family. It's all about the children and the park in East Ybor, and I thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Please state your name.
Good morning. Peace and power to all oppressed people in the world, and may we continue to fight like hell until true liberation come about. This t-shirt says from enslavement to mass incarceration, because we see the continuation of you as city government not understanding. We don't want to wait until we hear of the next city report on how bad things are for African Americans. It continues to be bad, but it is only then when you have a crisis, not for the benefit of African people, that you begin to slightly move as if you give a damn. The crisis in Ybor City has been a long crisis in East Tampa. But the Band-Aid approach without speaking to all of the people, as opposed to now the police will have greater power to continue on with its legacy from being slave patrolmen, slave catchers, to now enforcing the Ybor Youth Ordinance. What do that mean? Are they social workers now? When they come in contact with a young person, do they know how to de-escalate? When they come across young people that is in homeless crisis or mental crisis issues, what will they do besides give a $50 citation to a parent that cannot afford it? You all have some real challenges, but don't move away from Challenge 5, Resolution 568. Because many of these children that is dealing with a whole lot of issues that was identified in that resolution is African American children. You have not addressed how you plan on increasing economic opportunities for communities that are in despair. What you do is continue to give money to little pet projects, to individuals that can come to this podium or work on your particular campaign or being solicited by the mayor or others. But the real heart of the problem is not being addressed. Systemic unemployment, miseducation, and the failure of the educational system, the ongoing gentrification of our community. It means nothing to us if middle-class Black people is now moving into communities that was once blighted. Gentrification occurs because you didn't want to be there, nor did the developers want to put any money. So now, because you have a South African that has bought up all of Ybor City with its hate, to cleanse it of Black people because you don't want to make the real investment. We see all of you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Pointer, you're going to be the last speaker. We had a speaker. Yes, ma'am. She was.
Don't forget about me.
Wait. She was sitting up in the front row. Okay, then you're the last speaker. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name.
Good morning, Stephanie Pointer. You know, it's funny because Connie kind of touched on what I had to say. I noticed number 14 this week is the Riverwalk, Blake High School, blah, blah, blah. We're starting to inch towards spending that money. On our CIP plan, you know, it's funny because one of the things, excuse me, geez, one of the things that I see that you can't search the CIP plan by how much something costs. I think that's everywhere. That should be everywhere. But the bottom line is that we've got all these big, flashy projects like the West River project. And I was back there looking it up. It started right about the same time that the Hannah Street projects started percolating. Yet they hadn't done anything. Why? And last I heard, they went to West Tampa CRA and Glad hadn't asking for money. So I guess my big picture is we got potholes, we got needs, honest to goodness needs in our community. But yet we have these big flashy projects like the $115 million. And yes, I know it's water money and water money's separate, but we've already spent 200+ million on the waste to energy plant, the Riverwalk's 30 million, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we could go on and on with these huge projects, but yet we're not taking care of making sure that the kitchen sink's working properly. You can build a new garage out back, but if your kitchen sink doesn't work, you cannot function properly. And I'm seeing more and more of this. St. Patrick's Day 2021, the mayor picked Related Group. That's 57 months ago. That's a long stinking time for us to be in bed with somebody who's not doing anything. Why? Why do we have these things, but yet we've got 115 on the agenda today. We've got 41 over here. We've got 140 over there. And yet, you drive down the street and, I hate it that Councilwoman Henderson's not here. She asked, where are those third world streets? I sent you an email and said, go down 60th Street. Go down that street. There are potholes so big in that street that you can't even see asphalt anymore. That's ridiculous. That is third world country. We've got to stop looking at the big picture crap, this giant boom of monstrosities, and start looking at the citizens of the city. And that's kind of what this whole thing is about, is looking at the people, not the things that we can get from all the money that we're spending, because where's it going to be in 30 or 50 years? The people are still going to be here. They're still going to be struggling. And we're going to have a bunch of buildings that somebody's going to want to replace.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am, you're the last speaker. Please state your name.
Hello, my name is Sandra Zickery. I'm currently in litigation in the Court of Appeals in Hillsborough County. I've seen federal complaints about judges in Hillsborough engaging in ex parte communications to convert a scheme of bias towards litigants. Here in my case, there's judges, doctors, lawyers engaging in federal crimes and concealing a hate crime and criminal assault that was committed against my unborn child and myself while in labor at the time. I have complaints and affidavits that I was assaulted by doctors here in Tampa, and now TPD, judges, lawyers are committing federal violations, victim extortion, illegally harassing me and threatening me in front of my own child, who is also a victim of a crime. What are we going to do about your city engaging in fraud and criminal behavior? I am going to be filing state and federal suits against the city of Tampa and various governmental agencies. I am entitled to due process. That is my constitutional rights. Sure, I could lose my cases, but there's still a public record and a public trail of how this city discriminates against a 6-year-old and his mother. There will be a record of our suffering that you attempted to conceal, and a trail that this city has engaged in racism and illegally concealing evidence of a major hate crime. I've spoken with the state prosecutor's office this week, and they told me that they'll be in contact and will help me schedule a secondary meeting with the chief of police, Ms. Lopez, and the mayor. There needs to be proper accountability. You're letting doctors commit hate crimes against minorities while judges and cops cover it up. And at the end of the day, you're responsible because you allowed it and you did nothing. My son is here, and he's entitled to justice. He wipes away my tears. Is it fair to a little child to watch his mother cry? Look at the case dockets and you'll see for yourself. My last name is Zickery, Zikry. Look at what your public servants are doing. They are a reflection of you and what you're representing.
Thank you very much. All right, that concludes public comment. Council members, let's go through the consent agenda real quick before we go to items 4 and 6. Councilman Vieira, you have items 7 through 13, public safety.
Yes, sir. Hereby move them, sir.
We have a motion from Councilman Vieira, second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Yes? Yes, sir?
On the next one, I need to recuse myself on number 14.
Okay, is Councilmember Hurtak still online? Okay, but it was a unanimous vote. You said item number 14?
Yeah,
Councilman
number
Crowe?
14, and I'd like to make a motion to receive and file this form.
Second.
8B, that my firm works with the school district, and although we don't work on anything related to the city or this project, I'm recusing myself in abundance of caution.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Carlson to receive and file. We have a second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Before you go, we're going to move items.
14.
Well, let's do 15 through 18, and he can walk out of the room. Can I get a motion from Councilmember Carlson, who is the alternate for 15, 16, 17, and 18? Sir?
I'd like to move 15 through 18.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilman Vieira. All in favor? Aye. All right, if you want to step out, we'll... Yes, sir?
There's no legal requirement that he step out. It's one
Oh,
item. It's
okay,
very
all right.
important.
Councilmember Miranda has moved item number 14, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor, with the exception of Councilmember Carlson, who's recusing himself? Aye. Any opposed? All right, unanimous with Councilmember Carlson not voting.
Abstaining.
Abstaining from voting. All right, next up, Councilmember Carlson, you have Public Works 19 through 34. May I have a motion, sir?
Sure, I'll move 19 through 34.
We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. All right, Councilmember Hurtak is on. Councilmember Miranda, would you mind moving items 35 through 38?
I'm sorry, move 35 to 38.
Would you have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, that was an aye from Councilmember Hurtak, so we have that. Councilmember Carlson, you are building and zoning. If you would do 39 through 47 with the exception of 42.
I also have to recuse myself on item number 46
All right.
for the same reasons. My firm has a client that is not involved in, my firm is not involved in this issue, but I'm stating at an abundance of caution.
Okay.
So I'd like to receive and file.
We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson to receive and file, a second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor? Aye. So Councilmember Carlson, move items 39 through 39, 40, 41, 43, 44, 45, 46, you're abstaining on, and 47.
Yeah, so I move 39, 40, 41, 43, 44, 45, and 47.
We have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Aye. All right, may I have a separate motion? Councilmember Clendenin is moving item number 46. We have a second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
And I abstain.
And with Councilmember Carlson abstaining, as mentioned, and we've already received and filed.
I move item 48, 49.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. All right, Councilmember, yes?
Item with, Ms. Pettis-Mackles here regarding item 50, if council could allow it to be heard, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Kamaria Pettis-Mackle from the Legal Department. Council members, upon review of the petition for review application for item number 50, which is file number DE 124-18, this matter is not properly before City Council. It does not meet the requirements of Code Section 27-61. Based upon that, I'm asking that you not schedule this for a public hearing as requested for February 15th, 2024.
So
It's
would
not
you like a
properly-
motion to remove it from the agenda?
Correct.
Can I get a motion to remove item number 50? Item number 50 is being removed by Councilmember Clendenin with the second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? All right, any opposed? Who would like to move item 51, setting a public hearing for January 11, 2024? Motion from Councilmember Miranda. This is for item 51. Do we have a second? Second? Second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. All right. Before we go to the public hearings, we still have items 4 and 6. I know there was a motion to continue item number 4, which was a tie vote, which means the motion failed. Therefore, we still have number 4 in front of us. We are down to 6 council members, which means it could come down to a tie vote. So, Mr. Shelby, what would you You're not giving, you're just giving legal advice here. What can we do with item number 4? Being that it could be another tie vote, it could not be another tie vote, but
I mean,
So what council anticipates for this, this is on again for first read, Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney, this is on for first reading consideration, as the city attorney previously told you. Frankly, if it doesn't, if the option is, if you want to have it heard, then you read it for first reading, you read it by title only, and depending on what the vote is, if it is a tie, to answer your question directly, it would be something that could be brought back at the next regular meeting, if that's the case, when you have a full council.
okay.
It's not required because...
But it doesn't kill it permanently. It would automatically be bumped to January 11th, for example, or January 25th, or, is that correct?
Technically, it does not appear on the...
So then somebody would have to make a motion to bring it back in the future?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, sir, Councilman Vieira.
so my question is to those who voted against the continuance, are you going to be voting against it now, right? That's probably what we have to know. I mean, because if so...
Councilmember Moran.
There's only 3 things that can happen. You have a 3-3 vote, it goes to another meeting. Or it goes 4-2 to vote to pass or 4-2 to fail. That's it. So what are we debating? Let's take the vote.
So, Mr. Shelby,
Yes.
as what Councilmember Miranda brought up, if it does move forward as first reading,
Yes.
doesn't guarantee, so the public knows that it would even move forward at second reading. It could fail at second reading, is that correct? Or it could be approved at second reading?
It could go...
Yeah, but we will have a full council, and it doesn't kill it completely, or it doesn't put us in the position of having to reschedule and set it and do, and, okay, thank you very much.
And if I can just clarify just one thing, with regard to your rules, the rule that if it's a tie, that relates to a tie, it automatically is continued, reopened, continued, it comes back at the next regular meeting. Those are for land use cases, those are quasi-judicial
Okay.
matters that require an up or down vote.
Okay, fair enough. Ms. Zellman, you were coming up.
Good morning, Andrea Zellman, Legal Department, and Merry Christmas to everybody. And prayers for Councilwoman Henderson and her mother. We've all been there. I was going to just give a brief statement about what the ordinance is. Do you want me to go forward with that before you vote?
What is the pleasure of council?
I don't think it's necessary.
No?
I don't think it's necessary either, and I would just ask any attorney, if the administration wants to give an opinion on it, then it should be the chief of staff or somebody from administration, but if the attorney would like to give an opinion, it should be confined to legal advice and legal interpretation.
Let me be clear, I'm not here to give my opinion. I am here to educate this council about the ordinance that is in front of you. An ordinance that you made a motion that we put on first reading. I am here to provide facts about the ordinance. I think it probably would be worthwhile to hear them. This isn't my opinion. This isn't an ordinance that the mayor has asked me to present to you. You all made a motion to put it on first reading. I want to educate you about the ordinance that's in front of you. Educate, not advocate.
But I will say, in general terms, anytime I've spoken to any attorney in the city, you, your predecessor, anybody in this room, and I've had a tough vote where I go, I don't know, this is tough. What should I do? The answer's always been, it's the pleasure of the council. It's your vote. It's up to, you give me the information, it's up to me. We vote yes or no based on that, not, well, I think you should do this. Nobody's ever told me that, and I appreciate that. So would the council like to hear a further explanation on this ordinance, or would you like to go forward with the vote? Councilman Vieira.
Yeah, 2 things, if I may, which is I don't want how shall I say this? There's always a push to have conflict. There just is in certain issues, and I see that happening here with saying that, oh boy, this is the mayor's ordinance, this is this is that. I just don't want to see our city attorney fall victim to that, because I know Ms. Zellman, she is I say this as an attorney as well, she is an outstanding ethical attorney, et cetera, a very good individual, and I don't think anybody would disagree with that, and I don't want to see her and her role get mixed up in this kind of stuff. I just don't. My view is, with regards to whether or not we're going to go forward with this today, I mean, if 3 council members are going to be voting no on it, right? Councilman Carlson, Councilwoman Hurtak, Chairman Maniscalco, then we go into the next one, but we probably have to know. Now, if you want to first hear what Ms. Zellman has to say, right, then that would be worthwhile. That's it.
Councilmember Hurtak, did I see your hand up before I go to Councilmember Miranda?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Again, my concern, and we may get information, but for me, getting the information, just reading the ordinance was not enough information. I understand we may get more information today, but who did not get more information was the public. So I'm concerned, regardless of how I'm going to vote on this, that this morning I heard from multiple speakers that they didn't know what was going to go on with this. I heard someone say that the underage kids will be sent to that will be sent to jail. I've heard that that parents don't have control over the children, and then they do have control over their children. I've heard all sorts of different things. I think the community is very confused, and I think we're going too far, too fast. I think that a lot of the community who's come together to say, hey, let's get more people to talk about what an actual solution would be, and if that's part of the solution, great. But I feel like we're doing one small piece of a puzzle without completing the rest of the puzzle, and I don't see a point to that. So for me, I would rather get more information. I would rather talk to the public. There's supposed to be, if I remember correctly, a public meeting scheduled for after the holidays, if Chief of Staff is still there, to maybe speak on how that's coming.
Chief Bennett, would you like to respond? If you'd like to respond. Then we'll go to Councilman Miranda, then we'll go to Clendenin. Councilman Clendenin.
Yes, Chief of Staff, are we still planning on doing that community meeting before January 25th?
Good morning, still John Bennett, Chief of Staff. Yes, that's been conveyed to our community engagement team and our police department to talk to the community about prevention primarily ahead of this, and of course the framework of whatever's discussed here going forward. But yes, community engagement is part of the plan as you discussed and motioned a meeting ago.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying before we do a first reading on this, let's see what the community wants. There's going to be community meetings about this. They may want this ordinance massaged some, and if that's the case, then it's have to come back for first reading anyway, and we're just wasting our time today. Sorry.
We love dogs, so you're good. Councilmember Clendenin.
We're getting a delivery.
Thank you.
So I'll mute myself and
ma'am.
let Mr. Miranda go on.
Thank you very much. It just, again, goes down, you're putting yourself in a box. Either you take the vote or you don't take the vote. But if you don't take the vote, you don't listen to the city attorney explain whatever she wants to talk about, it's a moot question. It's going to be either 3-3, 4-2, or 2-4. It's not that difficult. So let's listen to what she has to say, put it in here and take the vote.
Councilman Clendenin, then we'll go to Carlson, and then we'll go to Ms. Elm. Yes.
So is this, I'm kind of confused where we are in this. Are we talking about the merits of this number 3 yet?
No, we're talking
4?
about voting or not voting,
Okay,
or doing or what. Or,
well, then, why don't we, I initially said that because I personally, I feel like I've got enough information on this that I didn't need it, but clearly, I think that maybe it would behoove us to listen to what the city attorney has to say about this. Because quite honestly, I like and respect Councilman. I have no idea what the city attorney's personal opinion is on this, because it's so funny because this is a council motion, so this is not an administration motion. This motion came from council. It was passed to put on the agenda today for first reading. And so when I'm listening, again, I think it's how your brain is tuned into listening for issues. When I listen to it, I really hear the city attorney providing information on council's motion, and that's what I hear when I hear it. So I respect your opinion. I respect it. I just want to say from my perspective of what I'm hearing when I hear that I've said. Thank you.
Councilmember Carlson.
Yeah, just to quickly respond to my colleague, Councilmember Clendenin, the idea of a underage curfew was proposed by the mayor the Wednesday after the event. And it was brought before us on that Thursday morning by the city attorney. They worked on that Wednesday, and they met with, she met with the leadership, some of the leaders of Ybor on that Wednesday morning after the shooting. and I think the idea originated with them, but then she pushed that forward. She spoke about it in a speech on that Wednesday. There was an article in the Times, and then on Thursday morning, city attorney brought this idea in, and then it was resurfaced. The same folks in Ybor started pushing it again a couple weeks ago. My concern is that there's no data on it. How do you approve a policy where there's no data? I was hoping between the first time we talked about this that there would be data. I looked again in on base this morning. There's still no background data on whether this kind of policy works. So there's the legal aspect of that the city attorney is going to talk about how it's related to the state policy, but there's a policy analysis that needs to come from either the chief of staff or Chief Burkall. And I would like to hear the data analysis before we approve this. I'm not necessarily against this. I just want a full weighing of it. I don't want it to be a political decision. I want it to be a data decision, a policy decision. My objection this morning, and to Councilmember Vieira's opinion, to me, it's not about conflict. I'm not trying to have conflict on an issue. My point was that when I made the motion this morning, the city attorney jumped up. And if she was giving legal advice, she would have stated whether or not my motion was legal. Instead, she started advocating for us to hear it today. I felt, and then the conversation continued. But just on that basis, I believed that it was inappropriate because she was advocating for it to be heard today rather than simply stating what the legal issues were. And that was my objection to it. And then it continued on from there. We can play back the video at some point if we want, but because of the experience in the past, and I apologize to Ms. Zellman because I've had a great relationship with her to this point, but because of the experience of the past with other city attorneys trying to usurp the charter powers of the city council, I just want to make sure that city attorneys stay in their lane and they only give legal advice. And we have to be able to push back as city council against that so that we can maintain the powers that we have. We pushed really hard in 4 years to just get back to some of the powers that we had before that we had by charter. And I'm trying to make sure that we retain that. I would like to hear what Ms. Zellman says, but if it's a 3-3 vote, I think we should just take the vote and then have the long conversation next time. Let her present next time. Hopefully Chief of Staff or Chief Burkall will come and also speak on the policy aspects of this, and hopefully all that information will be on base so that the public can read it and we can read it in advance. But if it's as Mr. Miranda said, if it's a 4-2 vote or if either way, then it'll go up or down. Thank you.
I mean, they can say whatever they want, and we can say no because we're the legislative body. So, Councilman Miranda, and then Ms.
I call the question, either we're going to listen to the city attorney, say what's here or not. I mean, this is a waste of time for nothing.
I agree.
It's not that hard when you only got 3 options, 3-3, 4-2, 2-4. It's not that hard.
Second, there's a motion and a second, Mr. Chairman, to call the question. There needs to be a vote on whether to call the question. That's one vote.
Okay.
It could just be a voice vote.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, there we go. Yes, ma'am.
Well, no, the thing
You
is
just voted
now,
not
if
to hear
she
me.
called the
No,
question.
no, now.
If she called, excuse me, I'm sorry, the vote was to call the question. Your next step,
So listen to her.
oh, I thought the next step was to call.
No, the next step, if you call the question, the next step is to pass the resolution.
To vote.
Is to take a vote.
So it needs to be read, I'm sorry.
Yes, Councilwoman Hurtak?
Turn your mic on, please. I can't hear you, Alan.
I'm so sorry, yeah. So the vote was to call the question for rules. Now, the question was called, so the question is now item number 4.
All right, so who would like to read this ordinance?
By title only, pardon?
We take
The
a
mo-
vote? Yes or no?
Unless you want to reconsider the call for the question.
I thought,
Oh, my goodness.
look, my patience is really running out. I'm sorry. And for me to say that it takes a lot, it's December 21st. Did we just vote to not hear Ms. Zellman, or did we hear to?
Yes, you did, because you voted to.
Oh, I didn't vote for that.
I want to
Okay.
rescind it to call the question then so we can hear Ms. Selman.
That's
'Cause
what I
want
thought
to
it
hear her
was.
in here.
Is there a second, well, do you want to just do it by unanimous consent, or you want to vote on that?
Yes. Motion from Councilmember Miranda to rescind that call of the question. Do we have a second? Second from Councilman Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, yes,
Council's
ma'am.
question.
Ms. Zellman, go ahead.
And just to be clear, Andrea Zellman, City Attorney. Mr. Carlson, Councilman Carlson, I interrupted you this morning not to question your motion on a legal basis, to point out that you were tying it to Ybor, and I was trying to clarify that it's a citywide ordinance, and that was the reason I popped up. So with that being said, let me just quickly explain to you. Again, you've seen this ordinance before, twice. In 1994, the Florida legislature passed a statute setting forth a juvenile curfew, but the statute expressly says that it doesn't take effect in any county or municipality unless the county or municipality adopts it by reference. Many other cities and counties in Florida have adopted that Florida statute. The city of Tampa has not. We had an earlier ordinance, which, as I told you, was found to be unconstitutional because it imposed criminal penalties. The state statute does not, and the ordinance in front of you does not. So again, this ordinance just takes verbatim the state statute and adopts it. Again, it would apply citywide. And just to get the facts straight, because there's been so much confusion, it applies only to juveniles under the age of 18. It applies after 11, Sunday through Thursday, and after midnight, Saturdays and Sundays and legal holidays. There's also some language about juveniles being near schools if they're suspended or expelled. There's 8 exceptions, so obviously a juvenile, someone 15 and under leaving an event, being accompanied by an adult, so on and so forth, would be exempt. Can't reiterate enough, no criminal penalties in the ordinance. The first offense is a written warning to the minor and the parent if the police are able to identify them. Second is a civil infraction with $50, which again can be applied to the minor and or the parent. As I said, it would apply citywide. In terms of data, again, I mentioned that we would be happy to provide City Council with more data at second reading should this go past first reading. I would ask that if there's specific data that council would like the police department or others at the city to produce, to please let us know. But I want to be clear that this would apply citywide, and the police have made it clear that they get calls for juveniles citywide. And I'll put on the Elmo. This is a map that shows calls. I don't think it's showing it. There you go. Calls that the police have received with the words minor or juvenile or juvie in the call between January and November. And you can see red is 10 or more calls. Yellow is, or the orangey, which like you can see in the Davis Island area, 7 to 9. Yellow, where they've had that many calls in that area. There's actually a total, for instance, the yellow, 45 calls over the year. So again, this is just to illustrate. Oh, I'm sorry.
Please state your name if you're going to
Officer DeFelice can better explain this than me.
Police Department. If we could, zoom in on this?
Thank you, I can't.
It's on the top.
The other way. There we go.
So we see those diamond shapes there, and we see their different colors, and those are the actual calls for service that we have received.
What's the difference between red and green? I don't see a chart for those.
So if we look at, up here, we see that the purple or red are the Friday and Saturday times from midnight till 6 a.m., and the green ones represent Sunday through Thursday, 11 to 5. And this clearly depicts that we have experienced or have challenges involving juveniles and minors throughout the entire city, not just one particular area.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I have a question for the clerk. If this were to pass under first reading to second reading, when would second reading take place? January?
January 11th.
So is there any way to push that further back? Okay, because I see that there are, not speaking for anybody, but there are questions, and people want more data, and as was mentioned, I think by the city attorney, answers to questions and information from now till then. It's the middle of the holidays, so I don't think January 11th is sufficient, because people, it's the holidays. So I would be willing to vote yes on first reading for a couple of reasons. Let me tell you why. Not that I'm supporting it or not supporting
Can
it.
I just finish? I have
Oh,
just
yeah,
a
go
few other
ahead.
points to make.
Sure,
I'm sorry.
yeah, great, go
And
ahead, yes, ma'am.
I think your suggestion about the timing is good, and I think Officer DeFelice, I'm not good with charts, clearly. What the police department has advised us is that if the ordinance were adopted, their focus would be on education and deterrence, enforcement as a last resort. They've already engaged Janelle McGregor, the Director of Community Engagement and Partnerships at the city, to look at this as a holistic approach with community partners, again, with the shared goal of helping to keep kids safe. Megan Newcomb, the police legal advisor, has been reviewing the standard operating procedures and policies that other jurisdictions around the state have implemented. You know, in other words, the guidance that they give to their police officers about how to enforce a juvenile curfew ordinance. So we want to make sure that the city would be following the best practices. The TPD has advised me that they would be providing transparency, you know, keeping reports about any warnings and citations that were issued. That again, they've advised that, and working with Janelle, that the emphasis would be focusing on education, deterrence, and also parental responsibility, because that is one of the purposes behind the state statute, was also to engage parental responsibility. And so with that, you know, happy to answer any other questions. And again, if there is specific data, you know, I know that there's many studies out there on both sides. How effective are juvenile curfew ordinances? We can present that. TPD can provide additional, more, you know, drill down on crime data if that's what you want. We just, you know, need some guidance from you as to what it is you're asking for.
Thank you very much.
So, thank you.
Thank you very much. So I was mentioning that because we have 6 members here and this could fail at a 3-3 vote, I would like a full council for this. I asked a question whether second reading can be pushed back beyond January 11th if we need more time for the sake of answering questions, getting more data. Another question I have is, I don't want to call it a free trial period, but if this were to pass at second reading, will there be a time like Tampa Police will take the first 30 days or 90 days to educate folks and say, hey, the city council has passed this. Right now we're educating people. I see your hand up, Councilwoman Hurtak. We're educating people, and then we're going to implement this after, I don't know, June 1st, something like that. Another question is, because we're going into 2024 and because Tampa, how can this be repealed? How easily can this be repealed? If we see that we have a major problem, whatever that major problem can be with this, how quickly can it be repealed? Did it just come to council as an ordinance to repeal said ordinance? So it's very easy for us to take that back. I believe I asked all the questions. Now, what I mentioned was in order to move this forward for the sake of having a full council and for the sake of other questions being answered, I would be willing to say yes at first reading. This does not mean that I will be voting for it at second reading. I'm just being gracious and allowing the opportunity for my colleagues and anybody else to ask questions in the meantime, considering we don't have a full council. I didn't know it was going to be 6 people, but here we are. So that's that. Councilmember Hurtak.
Thank you. I have a ton of questions. First of all, I want to know if this is simply a curfew ordinance, why Section 2 and especially Section 2, subsection 2, about students who have been suspended or expelled from school can't be in a public place like a library. And I'm very concerned about that. I don't think that's at all what we're trying to do here. So I'm not sure. To me, that's scope creep. We should be focusing, if you're focusing on a curfew of evening, why are we adding a scope creep of what students are doing during school time? To me, that's not part of what we're discussing today. I'm also concerned about what happens if parents or students can't pay. Traditionally, if people can't pay, sometimes that that enables their driver's license to be suspended or for them to not get a driver's license at all. What are the steps that happen if someone can't pay a $50 fine? I have other questions, but I'd like that one answered.
Ms. Selman, can you answer that question?
The question about the school, you know, again, this is out of the state ordinance, state statute, I'm sorry. If you look at it carefully, they're talking about minors remaining unnecessarily in a public place. If someone's suspended or expelled from school, my understanding is they're not allowed to be near the school, but that wouldn't prevent them from being inside a library.
It says very clearly here, public places.
Right, but I think if you read in the definition, remain means to stay unnecessarily in a particular place. If someone's in a library, I don't think anyone would argue that they're remaining there unnecessarily. The statute is geared towards, you know, people hanging out in a parking lot, people hanging out on a street corner, people hanging out on the Davis Island Beach at night, you know, whatever. That being inside a library, I don't believe would meet that definition.
Yeah, because I had somebody ask me, what if I go to, this was a teenager the other day, what if I go to the movies late at night? And I said, oh, I go to X movie theater, and she goes, oh, I go to that movie theater too. And I get out after a 10 o'clock showing, whatever, and it's after midnight. Are the police going to stop me and take me home? And I said, I'm going to ask that question. I'm bringing it up now. I would not think, if you're walking out of a movie theater to your car, that a police officer would say, hey, what are you doing here? Obviously, you're walking to a movie theater and you're getting in your car to go home, we assume.
Yeah, I think if you read the exceptions to, there are exceptions for people returning, you know, people are leaving a place, returning from a place. But to the other question, and now I can't remember who asked what, I think Officer DeFelice and Janelle could both explain, you know, what they have already started talking about, and obviously would ramp up more if this ordinance passes, would be a more holistic approach. And again, the police have told me, emphasis on education and deterrence, not enforcement. My understanding is there's no intent on the part of the police to suddenly start going out and rounding up juveniles. This, you know, as we talked about at the other two meetings, it's a tool. It's not, it's an additional tool in their tool belt if there are problems where juveniles are gathered, but there's no intent to suddenly start, you know, targeting people, rounding up people, whatever. Instead, the intent is, again, education, deterrence, parental responsibility. That's what they've advised me.
Okay, so I supported the original motion of.
Again, I still have questions.
I know, I'm going to go back to you.
My $50 question wasn't answered. What happens if they don't pay?
I can't answer that offhand. I can look into that. I don't know the answer.
This is the frustration. And then my other question is, you said it was for under 18, but I thought it was for
under 16.
You said 18. Okay. You said 18. You
Did
misspoke
I?
and said 18.
I'm so sorry.
Yes,
15 and under.
You know,
15 and under.
I wanted to clarify. And then if I could have Major DeFelice come forward and talk to me about the actual steps that will occur if this were to happen.
Major DeFelice, Tampa Police Department. So you're asking the steps taken if what were to happen?
If you say, I'm a kid, you're stopping me, what's going to happen step by step?
So to be fair, this is an ordinance that we're talking about passing, so it is very new in nature. So we're trying to develop the best practices to see what is going to mesh well with the community. Sitting here today and hearing public comment, we're going to want to make sure that we solicit responses from the community, those that will be affected, those who are parents, those who live in all of the affected communities, to see what is going to be the best response. As we sit here today, to say that we have all the guidelines thought of and the policies in place, that would be incorrect, because we haven't had the time to speak to council, to the members of this community, to see exactly what would happen. The scenario that you played out about the movie theater, the way the ordinance is written, and also with our officers, if people are moving to and from and they don't pose a threat, or they don't, again, we have to remember that this is about threats to young people, not only committing crimes, but also being the victims of crime. So somebody moving to and from someplace like a movie theater, getting in their car or walking to, is not going to be viewed as something that we would need to take immediate action. And I think those opportunities are viewed on an individual basis. If there's something that would demand or attract the attention that something nefarious in nature could be going on, or those youngsters could be the victims of crime because of their location, et cetera, then an officer would have the ability to use that tool to address that problem.
Thank you. And Major DeFelice, you made my point for me, which is we don't have systems in place. So I'm not sure why we wouldn't just wait until the community has had at least had a chance to get together, to cobble together some type of system before we approve an ordinance like this. To me, it's completely unacceptable for us as a body to approve an ordinance that doesn't have steps to follow. I don't think it's okay at all for us to approve an ordinance whose, timeline will be developed after we pass it. And to say that we can do that between first and second reading is disingenuous. I think we should continue this to January 25th after the community's had a chance to have their say and the police department has had a chance to kind of come up with at least a rough idea of what they would do. Because when I talk to officers, they're concerned about what do they do with a person they do pick up. Do they take them? Do they have to take them home? Do they have to take them to a police office? Someone said, one officer told me that they were thinking about taking students up to Lake Magdalene, which is like a juvenile detention facility. That's out of the city. So how much time does that take from an officer? So I want personally, and these are the questions that also I'm getting from the community. What happens to my kid if they get stopped? Those questions haven't been answered today. We cannot, in good conscience, vote on this.
Thank you very much. So as I was saying, I voted to support the continuance of this item, and it failed with a 3-3 vote. Unless somebody changes the vote, I see as the only way to get an unofficial continuance, which it's not. It's a reading, first reading, and then extending that second reading to January 25th. And then I'll ask my questions, and I can't guarantee if I'm or whatever, take it further. But I'm just throwing that date out there. But that's the only way. It's that, or it just fails completely on a tie vote. Yes, sir.
And then we can bring it back on January 25th.
Yes, sir.
I called the question on scheduling, on the first reading of item number 4.
Okay, the question has been called. Do we need to take a vote on this? Do we have a second? Second to call the question, meaning we're going to take this vote.
That's what you discussed. There has to be a vote on that. Can we comment on the motion? Yes.
All right.
I
We have a
can't hear you.
second from Councilmember Miranda, and then
No, it's not debatable. No, calling question's not debatable. No.
we just take a
Can
vote on it
someone
up and
turn
down.
microphones, please? I can't hear you all.
Councilman Hurtak, I called the question, it was seconded, and there was a question about whether it was debatable or not. It's not, a call for the question is not debatable, so the motion would be to call the question, and if that motion passes, then we actually vote on the issues.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. This is to call the question, meaning we're going to take the vote after this, correct, Mr. Shelby?
If it passes.
If it passes. All in favor? Aye. Who is opposed?
No.
We have opposition, the nay votes are Councilmember Hurtak, Councilmember Carlson. Is that correct? That is correct. All right, so the motion passes 4-2 with Councilmembers Hurtak and Carlson voting no.
So is then number 4 is on the table now?
Yes, who would like to read item number 4?
I'll read it, you want to read it?
All right.
Go ahead.
Councilmember,
No,
Councilmember Miranda.
we'll go age before beauty.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, go ahead, Councilmember
You beat
Miranda.
me by 3 hairs.
Those are valuable hairs.
Item number 4, Mr. Chairman, after a long debate, is something that has to be read, and I don't care if it's February for second reading, let the public, I'm not here to tell the public not to listen, not to understand, not to get involved. This is something been dangling. By the way, people from both sides came here not once but twice to talk on this when the community came in and speak. But anyway, item number 4, 5E 2023-8, Chapter 14, orders being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance in the City of Tampa, Florida, amending Chapter 14 offenses, Article 2, Division 1, City of Tampa Code of Ordinances to adopt by reference and codify a City of Tampa Code Section 14/26 and the provision sections 877.20.877.25 Florida statutes regarding local juvenile curfew ordinances, repealing all ordinances and part of ordinances in conflicts therewith, including any prior versions of sections 14-26 that were repealed by ordinance number 2015/125, City of Tampa, Florida Code, Section 14/29, Ybor City Child Protection Ordinance, providing servability, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. Discussion from Councilmember Carlson, then Councilmember Maniscalco. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we just heard, I didn't get to my questions, but we just heard that the city doesn't have answers to almost any of the questions. We know where the ordinance came from, and we know who originated it, the idea, but we don't know any of the data on it. The very simple question is, has it worked in any city where it's been implemented? We don't even know that basic question. And so, and we also know from police officers that it's going to be a burden on them. And so why would we put a burden on police officers and potentially commit civil rights violations if we don't even know if it's worked in any other cities? I would just ask, without having a long discussion, I would just ask, Mr. Chair, you're the swing vote. I would ask you to vote it down. And then we can, if we vote it down, then we can schedule the first reading and the second reading, but then the public and we will all have a chance to get the data we need. And I might vote for it if I get the data, but I don't have any data right now, so I'm going to vote against it now. Thank you.
Councilmember, wait, it was me. I just want to, I want to say yes so we can advance to the second reading, but it doesn't mean I'm going to vote yes or no. That's all it is. I was prepared to vote against it today, but we don't have a full council. Now you know my vote. But in the meantime, I'm going to ask my questions. If the second reading is for January 25th, if my questions are not answered properly, if I have other concerns, then I won't support it. So, Councilmember Clendenin, Councilmember Miranda, Councilwoman Hurtak.
Yeah, I just want to make a couple of points, and I'm not going to belabor this or beat this dead horse, but reference the police. It's my understanding that the chief of police supports this. It's my understanding that the PBA has not taken a position on it, that they don't either support nor object to it. There's no criminal, as the point has been made, there's no criminal penalty involved in this. It is citywide, and quite honestly, somebody next to when this comes back, hopefully it looks like it's coming back for second reading. We can have a lot of data, and this council will have the pleasure of voting it up and down at that point. But somebody from the public or somebody somewhere needs to come to me and explain to me, because this is 15 years old and below. Somebody needs to come before this council and tell me why they think that it's okay for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-olds to be on the streets of the city of Tampa at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning without adult supervision. I mean, I don't understand that. And if somebody, when y'all come back, which I know some of y'all will, when you come back for the second reading, please come to me with information and explain to me why you think this is good for families, that it's good for our community, that it's good for our businesses, that it's good for those kids. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. We know we have a problem. I think we talk about this being a tool for our law enforcement officers. It's also a tool for parents. So this is an ability for these parents to communicate with their children about what the household values are, also what the city values are. And so that's my position on this. I look forward to the discussion when this comes back for second reading.
Councilman Miranda, Councilwoman.
And I feel the same way. You know, when you look at society, back when I was a teenager, guess what? They didn't have all the pressures that they have when I was a teenager. They have them now. I didn't have all those pressures. There was no internet. There was no other platforms to look at. You had a swimming pool you had to walk to and come back. You didn't have no cell phones. You had communication with people, one-on-one. They understood each other. They see each other. They know each other. Now no one speaks to no one. Everything's on the phone. Anything you need, whatever's on the internet is for true. Anything on your phone, it's valid. Anything on any of those things that are streaming, anything is factual because you saw it and you read it and you believe it. There's one problem with this whole country, and it's called parenting. And we're not facing that. We're walking away from it. Those kids shouldn't be there. When I was 16 years old, if I came in after 12, my mother would beat the shit out of me.
Whoa.
In plain English, okay? So I'm telling you now what's going on. It's not that hard to figure out. What are we going to do? Stay back? And I may be wrong, but I think I saw somewhere, and I may got the wrong information. More kids are killed by gunfire in America than die in automobile accidents. Now you figure that out. And we're gonna do, and I'm not saying this is the case, we have to help these kids. And the only way you can help them is by doing something to say you can't do what you're doing. Find yourself, there's a why. Johnny Carson used to say you can go left, you can go right. One is good, one is not so good. I'm not making decisions for the parents. Let the parents do that. A government cannot tell the parents what to do. But in cases like this, that government has got to make that parent become a parent. And that's what we're looking at. For you to run your family and not that kid of yours that you have, boy or girl, under 16, can have all these problems in life. We got to stop the problems. We have a problem in this country because when you let 11-year-olds hang around with 20-year-olds, they got a lot of cash, they think you're going to get cash by doing what they're doing. And they're not doing anything mostly that's illegal already. So these are the things we have. It's got to change. This country is going to hell quickly. And it ain't from the outside, it's from within. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilmember Hurtak.
Thank you. And I would implore you to change your vote to just move this along, because we're going to move it along anyway. It's going to come back to us on January 25th, and then we'll have a better understanding, because government is not parents. Parents have made it very clear that they don't want government involvement in who and what they do with their children. Secondly, it's not about kids being out late at night. It's about the fact that they can stop anyone who seems possibly that they could be underage. There's a lot to this, but mainly my concerns are what happens when we actually do stop a child, and that has not been answered. And so I implore you, Chairman, to reconsider and consider voting no, because it's going to move forward anyway. I will even myself make the motion to have it come back January 25th, if that's what we have to do. But there's no reason to rush into this just to say we've done something. The better decision would simply be to get input from the community about where they want this to go, and then on January 25th to have the more holistic conversation of what we're going to do to have children have something to do in the evening, and how a curfew may go with that. And so maybe we'll come up with an idea of how curfews and teen evening activities can come together. But we don't have that opportunity to discuss that if we move this along. First reading says, we just want this to pass the way it is right now. I have never, in the time I've been on council, see us want to, because if we decide to drastically change this, we're gonna have to start from scratch anyway. So let's just start from scratch on January 25th when we have more input from the public, and then that both the city attorney and the police department will have answers to our questions.
All right,
Thank you.
Mr. Shelby, just a point of clarification, since they called me the swing vote. That's an antiquated, that was back in the day. But I just want to move this forward to future discussion, because I have questions from now till, let's say, January 25th. If it is a tie vote, the issue today is I expected 7 council members here, and it's not here. So I'm just trying to move the discussion along. If it is a tie vote and council member Hurtak, let's say, makes a motion to say, I want to bring this or continue this I want to bring this back to January 25th. And what if it's another tie vote on that? What if, that's what I'm trying to avoid here.
It won't be a tie vote if all council is present on January 25th.
So hold on a second. If it's a tie vote 3-3, the motion dies.
Under Robert's rules, yes.
Under Robert's rules, then what is the process?
Somebody puts it back on.
And then what if that's a tie vote again? What if it's Hurtak, Carlson, and myself?
I will vote for bringing it back for first reading on January 25th.
And what about the other 3 council members here? It's still a tie. It would be Maniscalco, Hurtak, Carlson.
I was saying if you make...
If the motion is, if I can, I'm sorry to interrupt. If the motion is, if the desire of council ultimately is to bring it back on January 25th for first reading consideration, council can choose to do that if that's council's pleasure.
Okay, I'm just trying to avoid a stalemate.
And by the way, I believe even with a motion to call the question, I believe a motion to continue is always in order. You can just motion to continue this to January 25th.
I motion to continue this to January 25th.
What, do you think that to call the question you have?
Point of order, I think that you would have to vote on that question. That is the motion on the floor, and when we're having discussion on the motion, it doesn't supersede that motion.
I would vote, could I say, I would vote for.
You could vote the motion.
Putting
Hold on.
first motion.
Let's settle this
first.
first. You could vote this you could vote, the opportunity to inject that would have been on the call the question. You could have voted against that and then made that a subsequent motion. But that opportunity for that motion would have been at the call for the question.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But,
Yes, we did.
So then
It's either up or down. Now we're just discussing.
Yes.
Now, right now, the subject of this discussion.
Microphone.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Councilman Haupert. The subject of this discussion now is the motion itself. It's not further motions, or it's not any of this other stuff. It's only pertains to item number 4 and whether we are going to vote this on first reading or to have a second reading scheduled.
Mr. Shelby, I have a question. If it does go forward under this first reading to second reading to January 25th, and we are not satisfied, can we kick it back to a first reading and say, start from the beginning, or
Yes.
no?
The answer is.
But it would take twice as long.
The thing is, we have tie votes, and that's the thing. We could kill this now at a 3-3, and then a motion to continue it to January 25th may die again as a 3-3. That's
Again, this is point of order.
But we should see.
A point of order, again, Mr. Chair, where we're at now is not on the merits of that. The merits is on the motion itself, which is item number 4. I think the comment should be restricted to item number 4, and we take the vote.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to try to simplify the whole thing. If we don't do anything and we bring back to January 25th for first reading, that's 2 more weeks down. The only thing we're doing here today is advancing 2 weeks, not in the beginning, but at the end. You're moving that because you're going to have the second reading on January 25th. If you don't do anything, you got this for first reading on January 25th, and 2 weeks later, you got the second reading. So what are we talking about? 14 days.
Repeating.
That's the only thing we're doing.
Just repeating.
That's it. I mean, I'm not smart in math, but I can count to 14.
All right, we have a motion, and we have a second. This is to advance the first reading. Let's take a roll call vote.
To advance.
Yeah.
This is reading, first reading consideration, with a second reading at January 25th.
Yes.
Roll call vote.
Henderson is absent. Vieira?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson?
No.
Hurtak?
No.
Clendenin?
Yes.
And Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Carlson and Hurtak voting no and Henderson being absent at vote. Second reading and adoption will be held on January 25th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m.
So, did you know that this could end up at a 4-3 vote? It could end up on a different vote under second reading. This is not the final do-all say-all. We had a lengthier discussion about this here, but in the meantime, we can ask questions. Mr. Shelby, and you said this can be kicked back to a first reading if it needs be, or it can just be voted down at second vote. This is not the final say.
If it's something that needs to be, if council at second reading, after hearing from the public, after hearing from the administration, getting additional information, having the council having discussion with the community, having the community discuss it, if it comes back with recommended changes, and it is such that it requires it to be rewritten, and it cannot just be read by title only, then yes, it would go back to a first reading, just sometimes as you see that in land use cases.
Very good. Thank you very much. Councilman Carlson.
I would like to make a motion to ask city staff return on January 25th, just prior to this item, to report on whether or not this policy has been effective in other cities in Florida in reducing the violent crime rate.
So you want that as a staff report to be heard before the second reading of this,
Yes.
correct? All right,
Yes,
when we
just-
get to the agenda review, then we'll make sure that.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, it would be very helpful, if that is a good question to ask, if there are other questions that you or any other council member have, I don't know that you need to make a motion. I would, please reach out. You can reach out to me, you can reach out to the police department, but let us know in advance, so we can make sure that whatever questions you have are being answered. I don't know, if you want to do it in motion form, that's your prerogative, but I think it would be very helpful for us to make sure that any information you want, we have the time to gather, collect, and bring to you. Because what you may think is relevant may not be what the next person thinks is relevant, and so on and so forth. We try to anticipate that, but there may be things we hadn't thought of. So please reach out.
I plan on asking my questions one-on-one, so thank you very much.
I appreciate that, because it's hard when it happens here.
Yes,
And,
Councilmember Haupert.
See, and I disagree, because I think the point of conversation, we shouldn't be asking questions that affect the community like this privately. That's why I asked my questions publicly. But again, we had no backup documentation for this.
No,
We
and
should
I'm
all
not,
agree that we are not voting on something that doesn't have any, I mean, that map was not available to us. Nothing was available to the public and on base before this. So the questions that I asked before, I still want a step-by-step understanding of what will happen to someone when they are stopped, whether they're underage, overage. I still want impact. I still want to know what the public has to say about it. I still want to know. I'm very uncomfortable including expelled and suspended students in this. So, because this to me is not the point. If you're telling me an evening curfew is what you want, then we shouldn't also be restricting children during the day. That's not the point of this ordinance. So I have a lot of questions, and I want to ask them publicly because I want public answers in written form on base so that the public can see the answers to them before our next meeting.
I
I think it's
appreciate
imperative
that.
that all of us ask those and to have them be in written form before we have our next discussion on
Mr. Chair,
this.
do I have a second? If I don't have a second, we can end this discussion.
I'm happy to support it. Councilmember Clendon, do you have anything to add? If not, I'm going to take a vote on Councilman Carlson.
Well, my question is, do we really need to vote on it? Because I would actually put also a list, an advanced list of City Attorney Zellman, if or anybody else that's listening from city staff, if we could get an advanced list of cities around the state of Florida that have this ordinance, and maybe council could do their own research as well, so we could talk to people within those communities and gather information on our own. You know, I'm looking at this just an informal, like this is the kind of information we'd like to see.
Councilmember Carlson.
Yeah, I would just read it again. I just added, and other questions from council members. I think it's important to put it on the agenda. That way there will be an item where we'll have the backup information, sure, and we'll be able to review it in advance of this. So let me just read again. Motion to ask city staff to report on January 25th prior to the vote on the juvenile curfew as to whether it has been successful in reducing the violent crime rate in other cities, and to answer other questions from council members. The point is to make it public. I think Councilmember Haupert said this, but the public is concerned about this, so we want to make it public. And if the information is compelling, I might vote for it. I just want the information. So
fair enough. Councilmember Carlson with the motion, second Councilmember Vieira, correct? Sure. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Aye. Very good. Thank you very much. All right, bah humbug. We are going to go to item number 6 because number 5 we'll hold it until staff reports at item 65. So item number 6, this is correcting a Scrivener's error. Is that what I see? Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Good morning. Dana Crosby Collier with the City Attorney's Office. Yes, file E2023-8, Chapter 27 is an ordinance being considered on first reading. It's amending Section 27-288 regarding solid waste. This was a Scrivener's error contained in the January cycle of amendments, and as codified, when you read it, it's missing a word and it has a redundant word in there. So we will clarify the text of our ordinance to clarify the depth, width, and opening requirements for refuse bin containers.
This is very
Mr. Chair,
controversial.
I move item 6.
Wait. I have questions. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, please read the ordinance.
I move file number E20238, Chapter 27, an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. Ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida, amending ordinance number 2023-128, passed and ordained by the City Council of the City of Tampa on September 21st, 2023, by correcting a Scrivener's error in the body of the ordinance and in the text, amending sections 27-288 solid waste, providing for repeal of all ordinances of conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendon with a second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Motion carries. Second reading and adoption will be held on January 11th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, if I may, for item number 5, and I think it was 63, I have to leave it around 2:30 or so today for a family obligation.
We'll take
Can
that
we-
first under staff
Thank
reports
you.
when we get back from
Because
lunch.
I have a question for staff on that. Thank
Absolutely. So we're approaching the 12 o'clock hour. I would recommend that we open the public hearings, that's 52 through 56, hear those, and then break for lunch, and then we'll come back and under staff reports, when we kick it off again, we're going to take item number 5, which is Mr. B-Day, with the attachment item regarding the speed camera. So may I have a motion to open all public hearing? We
Move
have a
public
motion-
hearings 55 through
All right.
all of them.
We have a motion from Councilmember
52?
Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor? Aye. All right, these are quasi judicial, so if you are going to be speaking on items 52, 3, 4, 5, and number 6, please stand up, raise your right hand, and be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you are about to provide is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, item number 52.
Thank you, Chairman and Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Item 52 is AB 22325. This is for the property located at 723 West Columbus Drive. This is a request for alcoholic beverage sales. It is a small venue classification with consumption on premise and package sales consumption off premise. And this is for beer and wine. This is before you for second reading and adoption. I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Dock? No? Yes, sir. Go ahead. Do you have anything to add? Please state your name.
My name's Terry Haley. I represent this case, and I'm here for any questions or anything.
Any questions for the
Otherwise,
gentleman?
move forward.
Nope. All right. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 52? We have a motion to close from
Second.
Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Councilmember Miranda, would you like to read 52?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 52, file number AB 223-25, an ordinance being presented for second reading adoption. An ordinance approving a special use permit, SU2, for alcohol beverage sales, small venue consumption on premise and packages sales off premise consumption, and making lawful the sale of beer and wine at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 723 West Columbus Drive, Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 2, from providing that all ordinance or parts of ordinance in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. Please, well, we have to do a voice vote because we have Councilmember Hurtak virtual, so roll call vote.
Carlson?
Yes.
Hurtak?
Yes.
Clendenin?
Yes.
Henderson? Vieira?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
And Maniscalco?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. Item number 53.
Thank you, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Item 53 is AB 22326. This request is for the property at 1226 East 7th Avenue. This is a small venue classification, requested consumption on premise only with beer, wine, and liquor. And site plan modifications were required. The plan has been certified and provided to the clerk. I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Dock? Any questions? Do we have an applicant for item number 53? There's nobody virtual. And this is 1226 East 7th Avenue, okay?
That's the little side of the Mateo Maceo, I think that's what that is.
Yes.
This is the Martín Maceo
Which number is that?
This is 53.
The file number again, Council, is AB 22326, and that's correct. This is the site that has the outdoor area. Just
Very
east.
good. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak? I see nobody. Motion to close from Councilman Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. Yes?
A question about that. Is this one Southern Bell?
No.
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 Which number is Southern?
It is not.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion to close and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Vieira, would you mind reading 53?
Sure, my pleasure. Move an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. Ordinance approving the special use permit SU2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue consumption on premises only, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, liquor, at or from that certain plot, or tract of land located at 1226 East 7th Avenue is more particularly described in Section 3, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed. Repealing ordinances is number 2006-8, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda, discussion from Councilmember Clendenin.
Yeah, I just want to explain my vote. I'm going to vote in opposition to this. I spoke against it on the first reading as well. We're expanding liquor license to an area that's outside, that's immediately adjacent to residential properties. And it just did not, considering the other issues that we're dealing with around the city, it did not make sense to me, which is really odd for me because I generally support all of these. But this particular one, the location and having it as an outside venue and having residential properties immediately abutting it is just a little bit too much for me. So that's why I'm going to vote in opposition.
Councilmember Hurtak, you have your hand, and Councilmember Carlson is going to turn his mic on. You want to speak, sir? After?
Yeah.
Councilmember Hurtak is first. Go ahead. ma'am.
You do realize they already have an alcoholic permit. This is just extending it. So, again, yeah, I just want you to know that they already have one. So we're just simply extending it to outside, and we all agreed with we made conditions for it. I think it works just fine. So I'll be supporting this.
Councilmember Carlson? No? All right, let's get a, was there a second? Oh, second, all right, roll call vote.
Yes.
No.
Henderson Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda, Carlson, and Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Clendenin voting no and Henderson being absent at vote.
Item number 54.
Thank you, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Item 54 is AB 22328. This is for the property at 6231 South Del Mabry Highway. The request is for a small venue classification with consumption on premise and package sales consumption off premise. This is a beer and wine designation, and it is before you for second reading. Site plan modifications have been made and provided to the clerk. I'm available if you have any questions.
Do we have any questions or comments for Ms. Dock? I see none. Is there anybody here for item number 54?
Motion closed.
And anyone in the public? No? All right, we have a motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Councilmember Clendenin, 54. Would you like to read it?
Sure. I move file number AB 22328, an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance approving a special use permit SU2 for alcohol beverage sales, small venue, consumption on premise and package sales off premise consumption, and making lawful the sale of beer and wine at or from a certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 6231 South Del Mabry Highway, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. Roll call vote.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda, Carlson,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
and Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Henderson being absent at vote.
Item number 55.
Mr.
Thank
Shelby?
you again, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Item 55 is AB 22329. This is for the property at 1625 East 7th Avenue. The request is for a bar lounge designation with consumption on premise and package sales consumption off premise. And this is with a beer, wine, liquor classification. This request is before you for second reading today. Site plan modifications were required, have been made, and the plan has been certified and provided to the clerk. I'm available if you have any questions.
Councilmember Carlson, then Councilmember Vieira.
Mr. Shelby, when I stepped out, I was just made aware that there's a article in the Times. I saw the headline, but I didn't read the story, and then I came back in, and I don't know the substance of it. I just want to disclose that I saw a headline.
And, okay, regarding this particular item? This one right here?
It appeared to be, so that's why I didn't go further than that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think, because I don't know the content of it, I don't think it'll have any impact on my vote.
Councilmember Vieira?
Yeah, that's why I pulled poor Mr. Shelby outside. I'd gotten a message on that article, and I sent it over to my city email, so just wanted to disclose that. And I sent it over to Mr. Shelby, so just in full transparency and disclosure to the public, I've already done that. Thank you.
Same with Councilmember Vieira. I saw a headline, I didn't click the article, and.
And what is
that's
the,
it.
what is the headline then? Does it,
Would you like me to?
oh, I don't know, does the headline make a difference in this case? It relates to the case in one way or the other.
I don't know the details of it, but now three
Okay.
members have mentioned, so I don't know.
And
I don't know anything further other than that there is a headline, but the headline
Well,
doesn't specify anything
Okay.
beyond Ybor City.
Do you know, the purpose of you disclosing that is to have the party, or have the parties who are involved be able to address it and rebut it. Is there any additional information that you could give to make it whether or not is anything that they need to address for the record?
I don't know.
Does
somebody-
anybody, do we have what, okay.
It's a headline, I don't know.
So are you saying that none of you have reviewed the article?
I do.
I'm sorry?
I do.
Wait, just a moment. No, I haven't read the article. Yes, ma'am, Councilmember Hurtak.
Normally I don't have my phones on me, but I had my phone next to me at home, and I received a text message from Daryl Shaw that says, website, Ybor residents tell city council don't approve this liquor license. That's all I can see because I didn't open the text message, but that is what the headline says.
Okay, thank you.
All
Okay,
right.
so that's a disclosure of what had occurred, and it's out in the record, and thank you very much.
Is the applicant here? Should we ask the applicant what they would
Is
like?
the applicant here for 55? Yes, sir, come on up.
I need to disclose expert.
Chip Williams, representing the applicant.
Anything you'd like to add to the record, sir?
I'm here for any
Councilman.
questions you have.
Clendenin, did you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I need to disclose some expert communication as well. I've had a communication, not with the applicant, but with a citizen in Ybor City that had expressed their opposition to this. I just listened, but I didn't, it's not, I mean.
It's also, Mr. Chair, it's also in the record and in the quasi box that one or two neighborhood associations have emailed us in the last few days and with their opposition to it. So
Understood.
that's new evidence that has been put into the record.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anything else? Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item 55? Mr. Major D. Felice, you're Major?
Yes, sir.
Major D. Felice.
Eric
Thank
D.
you.
Felice, Tampa Police Department. It would be our position that we would not be in favor of a change in licensing, as it wouldn't be congruent with our safety and security plan for Ybor City.
Did you testify to this at first reading, or is this something that you're saying now? You're saying Tampa Police is not supportive of this application due to what you just mentioned?
Correct.
Okay. And you didn't mention that at first reading, did you?
I was not here for first reading.
Okay, I don't think anybody from TPD was. Were they? Or unless it was, as part of the presentation, that TPD had a position, I don't remember. Okay.
LaShawn Doc, Development Coordination. No, I do not believe they were present at first reading.
Okay.
Ma-
Councilmember Carlson, Councilmember Hurtak.
Ms. Johnson-Velez, are we allowed is that competent substantial evidence that the TPD testified?
You can inquire as to what.
Susan Johnson Velez, Legal Department. Is your question whether he can make the statement he just made, or whether it's?
No, can we use that could that be used as evidence for or against the case?
At second reading.
I mean, it can be used for evidence, as council can assign the weight that it believes is appropriate to it. It is similar to any other member of the public who would voice their support or opposition to an application, and council can give appropriate weight as it deems appropriate.
But it wasn't a public comment.
It wasn't in public comment at the first reading, but this is also
It
a
is
public
public
hearing,
comment.
so council may receive public comment at this hearing as well.
My point was in the order of this procedure, he's more up here during the expert testimony as opposed to during public comment. This is a period of time in this hearing that this is expert testimony, not public comment.
This is I thought I heard the chair open it for public comment.
That's
or
what,
ask
that's
members
what,
of the
that's what he
public.
took, that's when
this
it
would
was
be
taken.
Taken
Well,
as
we
public
were
comment.
just hearing from the only thing we're at now is we're hearing from the applicant. So that's where we are in this particular hearing, we're hearing from the applicant.
Did you ask to,
No, we haven't gotten to that point yet.
you hadn't opened it for public comment yet?
Yes, he did.
I thought he,
Why, no, because the applicant was just called to the podium.
And he just said he didn't have anything.
And then Major DeFelice stood up.
And the
For
major
questions
is,
from the applicant, but not for public comment on this issue.
Is your
so-
question is whether this is testimony as part of the application or general public comment? Therefore, if we make a decision one way or another, if we can use that as, he
Correct.
does not support this.
Exactly.
Okay, Mr. Shelby.
an expert can also testify during public comment. Doesn't have to be somebody who's a party
It
to
doesn't
it.
have
As
to be
long as you
part of
can
the
qualify,
rebuttal
if
or,
you can
you know.
qualify him as an expert, and frankly, what he did was, right now, he just stated an opinion of the police department. If you have additional questions as to upon what he bases the opinion, who does he represent, to qualify him as an expert, then you can accept it if you choose to.
Mr. Chair, I have a question about where we are in this discussion. So you opened up public hearings, we're hearing this item, we heard staff do the presentation, you called up the applicant, and then the major came up to the podium during the applicant's time. Is that not where we are?
No.
He asked after he spoke and said he didn't have anything.
Okay,
It's
asked
public
if there's
comment.
if there's any public comment on this. So this is just during public comment, he's talking about so we're public comment on the applicant's.
On the application.
Okay.
On the
Very
application.
good, thank you so much.
Councilmember Hurtak, Councilmember Carlson.
I will wait because I have questions, and if we're in the middle of public comment, I will let public comment go on before I ask my questions.
Councilmember Carlson?
no, I just want to ask the major again, you're officially representing the police department, not just your own expert opinion, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and could you just tell us in short form what the reasons for that, the reasons the TPD came to that conclusion?
So we have the changes asking for just straight alcohol sales as well as alcohol sales off premises. And we don't believe that having that, a business on 7th Avenue being able to sell package outside the door would not be in line with what we're trying to do with our safety and security plan, making the streets of Ybor more safe for the patrons. To have that ability to have people have easy and readily accessible alcohol at their disposal right on 7th Avenue is something that I think we would all agree isn't really in line with what we're trying to do to improve safety and security in that area.
And I know you're representing TPD, but could you also just quickly state your experience also as an expert?
I have 21 years of law enforcement experience, 3 with another agency outside, 19 years here. I'm currently a major with the Tampa Police Department who oversees the day-to-day operations of District 3, East Tampa, 235 sworn personnel as well as 10 civilians. I've worked extensively as a patrol officer and undercover officer, and I have 3 years currently in this role. And I've been about 18 months serving as the commander that handles Ybor.
Great, thank you very much.
All right, is there anybody else in the public that wishes to speak? I think the applicant should have rebuttal or opportunity for, I don't know if Councilwoman Hurtak had more questions. Is there anybody in the public who
I
wishes
had a
to speak?
question if there's no more public comment.
I see no other public comment.
No,
Applicant, if you
my
wanna
question is
come
first
back
for
up,
Ms.
and then I'll
Doc.
recognize Councilmember Hurtak. Go ahead, Councilmember Hurtak.
My first question is for Ms. Doc. Ms. Doc, do they not already have an alcohol permit in this location?
Yes, LaShawn, Doc Development Coordination, that is correct, Councilwoman. They do have an alcoholic sales permit. It is approved in 2012. It's for beer, wine, liquor consumption on premise only.
And from my understanding, they also wanted to simply just expand it to the outdoors.
It does a little bit of both. It changes the designation because the current request is restaurant, beer, wine on premise only. The current request is for a bar lounge category, beer, wine, liquor, consumption on and off premise. And it would include outdoor area. There's 195 square feet of outdoor area under this request.
Okay.
The current request has no outdoor area.
So basically, this, if this were denied, they still have the ability to sell beer, wine, and liquor.
Yes,
Thank
on
you.
premise only.
Mr. Chairman, may I inquire?
Wait.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Shelby.
With regard to that, Ms. Doc, you had stated there's a distinction between the classifications. Could you please explain that to council for the record?
Yes, the current designation of a restaurant requires you to report your sales.
And what does that
So you
mean?
have to report
And what does that mean
Sales
to
of-
report? What's the obligation?
They will report sales of food and alcohol.
And is there a
And,
requirement that must be met?
Yes,
Under-
there's a 49 to 51% ratio. So your alcohol cannot exceed your food sales under the restaurant category.
And what are they requesting?
Under the current category that they're requesting, which is a bar lounge, they would not be required to report their sales. They could have their alcohol sales without the reporting requirement. The reporting requirement is due annually for restaurants.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And
You're welcome.
Ms. Doc, this change would make them report? No, this would,
No, sir. Actually, this change, they would not have to report. This change would allow them a bar lounge classification, and they're not required to report sales
so
with
they
that
can sell,
classification.
they can sell just alcohol, no food, and just if they wanted to, correct? Okay.
Correct.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? If not, applicant, do you have anything to add? Any rebuttal, sir?
Please. The reporting isn't the reason that they're changing the wet zone, or the applicant is changing the wet zone. It's the 51% food. If they were selling 51% food right now, it would, nothing would be changing. They had to go out and purchase an alcohol license at significant expense because they're not at 51%. So that is the reason for the zoning change. Regarding the, I know we went through the entire process. TPD has already signed off that there was not issues during the application process. I understand second reading, they can come up with additional information. Regarding the off-premise, there is, I can't speak to exact numbers, but almost every single full 4 COP on 7th Avenue has off-premise. The placards are available. I'm sure Ms. Stock can speak to that. Most people do not sell off-premise. There's other places that are directly contiguous that have off-premise. Nobody sells off-premise. So part of that ask was just covering bases. In the event that there's larger events or anything changes in Ybor, it allows off-premise. If you have a street festival, if they decide to block off the streets, the guava ween comes back, for example. Wet zone, you cannot sell past your front door, but somebody can drink on the sidewalks, they can drink in the street. So it gives them the opportunity to engage in normal things. So it's for future expansion, but there's no plans to do that. And there is, I'm sure that that TPD could speak to the fact that with regards to how many people do have off-premise but do not sell or do not take advantage of that, piece of the license, it's almost a non-play in this. So if there's any other questions, happy to answer them.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll ask for a motion to close. Councilman Carlson?
I think we should just clear up between the major and Ms. Johnson-Velez. The applicant just stated, applicant representative just stated that that TPD had previously said in, I guess, documentation that there was no problem, and now the testimony is different. Could one of you please explain that, and then maybe Ms. Johnson-Velez can tell us what we do if there's conflicting information, which one do we take?
I am not aware if we put anything in writing during first reading or prior to this hearing. So that's something I'd have to go research to bring back to you.
Ms. Doc, do you?
LaShawn Doc, Development Coordination. I do not have any comments received in the record.
Okay, so there.
From TPD.
Okay, all right, thank you. Just want to clear that, and the applicant probably has a chance.
Applicant, do you have anything else to add, sir?
I can find the application where it goes through the different city departments, and if there is, if they have any problems, any issues with the application, it gives them a chance to speak to it, and also first reading gives them, a chance to speak to any issues. It wasn't a problem a month ago, wasn't a problem 2 months ago. It's just a problem now. So, and I can show, I'm sure I can find the application that shows that the TPD signed off. It's public, it's part of the application process, so.
Ms. Johnson-Velez, anything?
Susan Johnson, Velez Legal Department. I'm flipping through the application now that I have in my notebook, and I don't see anything from TPD, but perhaps Ms. Dock can also clarify what city departments are included as reviewing agencies for an alcoholic beverage permit application as a general matter.
Yes, Council, LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. What the applicant is mentioning is what I'm referring to when I mentioned that I don't have any comments from TPD. Nothing was submitted for this application. So I had not received any TPD comments for this application for alcohol sales.
And if, Mr. Chair, if TPD or another department does not submit anything, does that mean that they are approving it, or does that just mean that they didn't submit any documentation?
I'm sorry, is that for me, Council?
Either one, Ms. Johnson-Velez or Ms. Dock. If TPD or another department does not submit anything to the file, does that mean that they have in effect approved it without comment, or had they just not provided comment?
LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Typically, if we don't receive the comments, then we just don't have an objection if we haven't received the comments, but I guess the department would have a chance and they can speak during the hearings, both first and second readings. But typically we receive the comments, and if we don't hear anything, then there's just no objection.
Yes, sir, Councilmember Miranda.
Thank you, Chairman. In the old days, 60-40. And Mayor Freeman, she was a council member of that council back in the 70s, changed it to, you know, what it is now, 49-51, to be more equitable. However, in all the alcohol beverage zonings we used to have in the old days, there was always a TPD officer here stating the position of all the alcohol, and I see someone in the audience who I recognize did a heck of a job when he was here that can verify this. They would hear and they say, we have no objection, or we have an objection for the reasons stated before, and they would say that. So now it used to be 51-49, and in violation of those, it would be individuals that had that 51-49 all the way lined up, all the way to the end, because they violated it when they came and the city did an audit. We don't have that anymore. So sometimes it's better to go back to the old days than it is to the new technology, because sometimes they get mixed up. But when they're here, you can hear and you can see. We don't have that anymore. So maybe I'm not saying you should go back to that, no, but maybe they should have presentation here, and I'm not here to scold anyone, but to make sure that they have a fair shot and the city has a fair shot, because now everything gets tangled in computers. That's all.
Councilmember Clendenin.
Yeah, I'll make it brief, try to wrap up this conversation.
Yes.
This was unanimous on the first reading. You know, this alcohol permit is requested in the really heart of our entertainment district. It's surrounded by these types of venues. Yeah, so it seems odd to me, again, you know, trying to, for equal protection or equal, you know, equitable treatment across things that we in the previous motion, we expanded this area to a different city block. So it would seem odd to me to deny this request, which again is surrounded by properties that are very similar to this. I understand that the point of people that may be opposed to this, some of the public comments that we've gotten, but it seems like this particular property fits within, you know, within what's already existing. And my question to folks with, if not here, then where? You know, are we going to create another Soho? Are we going to create another area where we encroach upon our residential neighborhoods and infect more citizens? So this seems this is an entertainment district. It is an area where people are welcome to come and have adult beverages and entertain. Hopefully the proprietors of this establishment will step up to the plate and work with our police to enforce the laws in Ybor City and work with them on when they just, you know, clear out their establishment at night. You know, we urge all of that, and of course, if it's problematic in the future, we can always, you know, address those things, and hopefully the other agencies within the city will do as well. But again, once again, this is a unanimous consent on the first. I feel it's a little odd because this is, again, Councilman Henderson's district. She's not here today. So I would say let's call the question, or,
Wait, Councilmember Hurtak has her hand up. She's
Yeah.
gonna close us out before I ask
Okay,
for a
very-
motion to
very good.
close. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I just had a question for Ms. Doc. The applicant mentioned 4COP. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, LaShawn Doc Development Coordination. Yes, the 4COP designation is beer, wine, liquor, and it is consumption on premise. That is a designation. We had the old wet zone categories, and you would have a 4COP designation as an option. That is also a designation with the state. Currently, ever since 2009, the code was modified and alcoholic beverage sales became special uses. So now the alcoholic beverage sales is tied to a use. And now that would be the bar lounge category, well, or similar, that allows beer, wine, liquor. But the old designations were 4COPs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much. Anything else, sir, before we ask for a motion to close?
3 points. One, I know Councilwoman Hurtak had said if this is denied, they can continue to operate. The reason that we're here is because this, the state requires a 51% food, so they're not meeting that threshold. They are being, they do have to change. In regards to TPD and Councilman Clendenin, the establishment in question has been operating right about a year right now. We talked to a few officers, and we're under the impression that the only calls for service they've received in the last year have been regarding homeless and moving them along. They have not had a single call in a year for TPD service. So I think they are operating, as well as they can in the conditions. And 3 was, they do, as far as operating, they are one of the first establishments to close. They are a larger establishment. I believe that normally 1 o'clock, 1:30 is usually their latest they're open. They are trying to, they tried to clear the establishment, and they're moving, and moving people out, and so they're, they're doing what they can as far as their operational procedures.
Can we get a
Thank
motion
you.
to close? Motion closed from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Clendenin, would you like to read item 55?
Sure. I move file number AB 22329, ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance approving a special use permit SU2 for alcoholic beverages, bar, lounge, consumption on premises, and package sales off-premise consumption, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcohol content, beer, wine, liquor, at or from the certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 1625 East 7th Avenue, as more particularly described in Section 3, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealing ordinance number 2012-89, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin. Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Hurtak. Roll call vote.
Before we do that, can I just say, I think I have to explain, because of the new evidence presented by the neighborhood associations and the TPD, I'm going to change my vote to no.
If I may, I join in Councilman Carlson's rationale. It's always good to explain your vote whenever you flip between first and second.
All right, we have comments. We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Hurtak. Roll call vote.
Miranda,
No.
Vieira,
No.
Carlson, Clendenin,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Henderson absent, Maniscalco.
No.
Motion failed with Vieira, Miranda, Carlson, and Maniscalco voting no, and Henderson being absent at vote.
Thank you very much. Item 56, and then we're gonna, huh? What?
The motion was to approve, is that correct?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Is there a motion to deny?
And again, what you need to do, council, is you need to cite, and perhaps the city attorney's office would be able to help cite the provision, the general standards, and make the case as to why you have decided to make a motion to deny, if that's council's pleasure.
Is there a motion to deny? Who wishes to take it for 55?
I'll make the motion to deny file number AB 2-2329, based on the new evidence of the neighborhood associations and TPD based on TPD's testimony, that it would make Ybor City less safe, and the neighborhood association's objections to the proximity, waiving the proximity. Is there anything else, Ms. Johnson-Velez,
That the 27, what is it, 27-129 is the general standards for a special use? I'm trying to think of off the top of my head. Well, with regard to the criteria, I don't have the criteria in front of me. Pull it up. I'm sorry, Council. I just want to make sure the record is clear.
Take your time.
Yes, sir.
I ran out of patience an hour ago. So we're good. No, no appetite.
So, section, and the, can I also cite, the staff had found it inconsistent, correct? Anyway.
You could ask Ms. Stock that if you wish to
Ms. Stock.
reopen, if you wish to reopen it.
Okay, I'll just go through, based on the staff report, and then also, section 27-129, the use does not ensure the public health, safety, and general welfare. It is, the use is not compatible with contiguous and surrounding property, and the use is not a public necessity. The use could establish a negative precedent, as cited by the TPD.
Can I
We
just
have a
add?
motion from Councilmember Carlson. Yes, ma'am?
Susan Johnson, Velez, Legal Department. I just, to answer your question, Councilman Carlson, staff did find the request inconsistent due to its proximity to Club Prana, which is another alcoholic beverage permit establishment.
Is that part of your motion, sir? Do we have a second? Second from Councilman Vieira, roll call vote.
Vieira.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Hurtak.
No.
Clendenin.
No.
Henderson's absent. Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Hurtak and Clendenin voting no, and Henderson being absent at vote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, council.
All right, yes, ma'am. This is just a public hearing, first one, and we're not reading the resolution until the second public hearing, correct?
Correct, and we'll be quick.
No, take your time, take your time.
Rebecca John, City Attorney's Office. This is a first public hearing for a development agreement for a proposed development under a somewhat new law, what we generally refer to as House Bill 1339. This was the predecessor to the Live Local Act. This law allows residential to be developed in commercial or industrial areas, provided that 10% affordable housing is provided within the development. The statute provides that the governing agency may approve the development. It is not a must, therefore it's at council's discretion. Affordable is defined by Florida statutes as 120% AMI or below, annual median income. If the development is approved, a land use restriction agreement will be recorded against the property, which will require that 10% of the units be affordable. In the event that the required affordable units are not provided or cease to be provided, the development will be in violation of the development agreement and zoning, and the residential use will no longer be allowed. City staff will present the specifics of the proposed development, and the petitioner is here for a short presentation. I'll be available for any legal questions. Just a reminder that the resolution, as Chair said, must be held until the second public hearing. Any changes agreed to today will be made between today and the second public hearing. And also, please announce after the public hearing the date of the second public hearing, which is January 11th. Thank you
so much. All right, who's next?
Staff.
Yes, sir. Mr. Cotton, yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Council. Eric Cotton, Development Coordination. If I may share my screen,
Were
I
you
will
sworn
run
in?
through this
Were
very
you
quickly.
and Ms. Feely
And,
sworn in?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I was sworn.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, sir.
I'm going to make sure my screen. I just want to give you all a layout of the property.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you. Can you see
Not yet.
the aerial?
No, we don't see it yet. We see a,
We see your desktop.
yeah.
I'll put it on this side then.
There we
Can you see it now?
Yes, we see 3 white.
Solutions
buildings.
for
Yes.
problem. This is just this is the location currently. It's developed as an office complex. This is at 4019, 4105, and 4151 East Fowler Avenue. To the south is the Highway Patrol Office on McKinley. To the west are 2 hotel buildings. This is the Quest Laboratories building. And to the north is the University of South Florida. The applicant is proposing a total of, is proposing a storefront residential development with a minimum of 6,000 square feet of retail with a maximum of 12,000 square feet of retail and 627 dwelling units. The applicant is providing the required parking. 832 spaces are required. He's providing 832 spaces. It's good because the layout, and I will share, I'll move this over. This is the proposed layout. Again, it will consist of 3 buildings, each roughly 7 stories tall and around 365,000 square feet. There are 3 waivers that are required. One of them is part of the development agreement, which is the request to reduce the required landscape buffer. So the use buffer on the west and the south. So this is because this is considered a residential development, it's a group use A, and this is a group use C down below. And same thing over here, this is a group use A to a group use B. Those requests are embedded into the development agreement. The applicant will still have to seek a variance from the Variance Review Board to remove 3 non-hazardous grand trees on the property, as well as to reduce the required 50% retention down to a 30% retention. Does the council have any questions for me?
Any questions for Mr. Cotton? No. Ms. Feely, do you have
Thank
anything to add?
No, I have nothing else to say.
No, I don't, Chairman. I'm just here in case there's questions related to process or other matters, given this is a little unique in its nature.
Thank you very much. Mr. Schimberg, please state your name.
Good afternoon, council members. Jim Schimberg, 1912 Ardsley Street. It's great to be back in front of council, representing Mr. Elvis Ramon from Semco Investments. It's an exciting new project that we're proposing across the street from the University of South Florida. It would be a multifamily project, hopefully would attract some student housing. We're taking advantage of the state law that allows, if you have 10% affordable units, that you can move forward without having to change the underlying zoning and land use plan. So we've been working with your staff for probably close to a year on this. We appreciate the work of Rebecca, Abby, and Eric and the whole team. We understand the process. We understand the requirements and the restrictions. I have a letter of support from USF that I would like to enter into the record. They did raise a few questions there. I want to make sure that there's pedestrian safety. They would prefer the building be moved a little bit closer to Fowler, which we're not averse to, if council wants that. We also are introducing into the record the landscaping plan, and we do understand that we have to go back in front of the Variance Review Board with respect to the trees and the other waiver. We mailed the required notice. We added some, additional people that we thought should get the notice. We published it in the paper, and we understand this is the first of 2 public hearings. So we're here to answer any questions. We have our engineer here. We have our client here. We think it's an exciting project. And like I said, we do have the support of USF, which is right across the street.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Clendenin.
I concur. I think I would love to see this. I support the density along Fowler. It's important to have that density. I support what you're doing here with the type of housing. So I have no objection to that as a design element. And again, it's not something that would be a make or break for me, but I would like to see this more street facing on Fowler to have that more urban, designs kind of achieve what we're looking for as the stadium goes in up there, as we look at BRT transportation, other options. I'd like to see the street facing and more urban. But again, that's just my personal taste. And if we're entering personal taste, there's too much blue there. It should be green and gold.
I agree with that, the green and gold. Councilmember Carlson.
Good to see you back in front of us, or for me for the first time, I think. You said USF, I'll ask you two questions and then let you answer both. You said that USF requested that you go closer to the street and you don't object to it. Do we have to change something today to make that happen, or would you all just do that? And then number two, I didn't see in the documents any direct subsidy. I thought I saw something like a tax abatement. If there is something like that, could you just explain what that is and how much it is? Thank you.
Regarding your first question of moving the building, that would be reflected on a revised site plan, which they would need to do between the first and the second hearing. So at the second hearing, they would come back with a revised site plan, if that's council's pleasure for them to move the building.
You would need to vote on that, or would they just do it?
I think you would have to direct us to modify the site plan to move the building a little bit closer to Fowler, which is what USF was asking for, and then we could adjust the parking.
And they're agreeable to that.
We're agreeable to that.
It wouldn't affect the parking because
if we could just-
Yeah.
Wait. Okay, anything else? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, there's not any subsidies.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Let me make it clear, because Mr. Shelby just had the question. The site plan is attached to the development agreement. So
Okay.
they would revise the site plan that would be attached to the final development agreement and bring that back at second reading,
Okay.
or second public hearing.
So we just need to add this to when we make the,
Sir.
so we just need to add that to when we make the motion, just add that between first and second reading.
And USF did request that we change the colors, and that's just a rendering, and my client understands that. We apologize for not having the green and gold rendering today.
Very good.
Regarding your second question, there is no subsidy, there is no investment by the city. This is just a private development.
Excellent, thank you.
And Mr. Schimberg, is this something you wanted to put into the record? Thank you.
Is there anybody else, any further presentation, other questions? Do we have anybody in the public that wishes to speak on this item?
Hello.
I heard Councilmember Hurtak. Yes.
Thank you. I just also wanted to echo that I think this is density in a space that's needed. I agree that moving it closer to the road is preferable, and I'm hoping that the retail is more on the 12,000 square foot end than the 6,000 square foot end, seeing as how it is directly on Fowler and a walkable area, especially if it's moved closer to the street.
Yes, ma'am, we do understand that, and that would, the goal would be to try to make that work.
Do we have anybody in the public that wishes to speak on this item? Wait, do we have a motion to close this, or do we leave it open because of the second public hearing and resolution?
Yeah, you can close it and then you'll open the second public hearing on
All
January
right,
11th.
we have a motion to close from Councilman Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda, all in favor? All right, this is to close the public hearing.
And now to announce. That's all you need to do.
All right, do I make a motion, or can I just announce? The second
Just
public
announce.
hearing will be held on January 11th, 2024, at 10:30 a.m. at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, 33602. Third floor.
Where does the site plan modifications, don't we have to read that into this so that it's?
No, they'll just come back for the second public hearing. We will resubmit the development agreement with the site plan change.
And then that motion will include the site plan modifications. Thank you.
Yeah, if this is approved at the second public hearing, you'll be approving the development agreement that's presented to you that day, and that will have the revised site
Do
plan.
you want to have that motion for the purposes of the record? That's a motion, a request of council?
Sure, I would.
I was gonna say, I would assume for their benefit, they'd want that.
I would think so too.
Yeah.
Could you just reopen the hearing?
Let's get a motion to reopen this public hearing.
Sorry.
Councilmember Miranda with the motion to reopen, second Councilmember Vieira, all in favor?
Aye.
The hearing has now been reopened.
Councilman Clendon, you made a good point.
Yeah, I move to amend item, file number DA 23-1816 to include modifications, to the site plan reflecting the building, be more Fowler facing.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, Councilmember Miranda with the second. Any discussion? No? All in favor? Aye. Councilmember Hurtak is an aye? Yes? Yes, ma'am. That's all right.
And I just want, for all the developers that are listening, this is the kind of stuff you need to bring to us in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Another motion to close, and you're
Counsel.
done.
All right, may I have a motion to close? We have a motion to close from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Councilman.
And I already announced the second public hearing. We're gonna come back from lunch, and we're gonna kick it off with Mr. B-Day, who has the two items regarding the,
It's 12:35. What time are you reconvening, Mr. Chairman?
we have food in the back, so you don't have to go far. It's a holiday feast, because I am full of the Christmas spirit. We will come back at 1:30, since we don't have to go far. Let's get out of here. 1:30.